football modifier. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 76 Diego and MATA and -039S. This was the most dangerous scene for Real Madrid since the start of the game. Not only did Cicinho himself almost suffer a heart attack, but even Leoli and assistant coach Greed, who were standing on the sidelines, broke into a cold sweat. Your uncle Cicinho, don't play like this. If you dare to do this again, I will kill you after the game is over. Leoli made a pose towards the Brazilian right back on the field and unleashed his infinite murderous aura. But what do you say? As the saying goes, those who survive a catastrophe must be blessed later. For Cicinho, this is true. The young man was so frightened that his face turned pale, but unexpectedly, the football that Joel Luca kicked away unexpectedly went straight to the feet of Cicinho, who was standing in a daze near the sideline. Perhaps the current ability value of up to 180 played a role. The Brazilian, in an instant, he switched from frightened state to fighting state. He subconsciously pulled the football with his left foot and made a gorgeous Marcel turn. He avoided Betis winger Redu's pressing and passed the ball to Baixan in front. Reis then. It was Reis' turn to perform. If you want to ask Reis what is his most powerful trick, then this stinky Spanish winger will definitely spread his big feet and tell you with practical actions. Speed. In FM 2007, this guy's speed value is as high as 18 and his explosive power value is 17. He is exactly the Spanish version of Son of the Wind. Although Cicinho's mistake just now put Real Madrid in danger, it also attracted all the Real Betis midfielders and backfield players. Therefore, after Reis received Cicinho's pass, there was no Betis in front of him. As a defensive player, Reis suddenly turned into an unchained Siberian wild donkey, swung his four hooves and started sprinting. Want to know the power of a speed explosion close to double 18? Wait until the end of the game to interview Betis left winger Xisco, and you will know, because Xisco, who is closest to Reis, risked the world's disapproval in order to prevent Real Madrid's quasi-single counter-attack. There was a tackle from behind. As a result, before the slide tackle, which was always invincible in previous games, was halfway through, Reis swooped out with the football, leaving a few pieces of flying grass clippings in front of his eyes. Xisco's sliding tackle didn't even touch a hair on Reis's legs. After avoiding Xisco's lethal tackle, Reis ran to the right edge of the Betis penalty area. He stopped sticking to the ball and directly passed the football 45 degrees diagonally to the other side of the penalty area point there. Little Marcelo Gautama, who served as the left winger of Real Madrid for the first time, had already appeared at the right place. The Brazilian hammer, who was only a little over 1.7 meters tall, used his momentum to pull onions on a dryland and did not hesitate to ruin his chic hairstyle, smashing the football into the Betis gate, held by Mexican Sanchez. The Santiago Bernabeu stadium was filled with cheers. After Marcelo confirmed the goal, he held his head in his hands and ran towards Tongfan on the sidelines. By the time Leoli discovered the bad intention of the hammer, it was already too late. Marcelo held his head coach in his arms and turned around. One lap and then, beep, the person who ruined the atmosphere appeared. The referee Alfonso Oliveira put on an international dead face without sadness or joy, pointed his finger at Betis' goal area, and signaled goalkeeper Sanchez to take the goal kick. The goal is invalid, facing the murderous Leoli and his hammers. The reason given by Mr. Oliveira was simple. Marcelo committed a foul before heading the ball. The slow motion replay in the center of the stadium showed that Marcelo's little trick was indeed a bit irregular. What a scam. If what happened before was just a little joke, then what happened next began to slowly escape Real Madrid's control. In the 24th minute, an accident happened. Roberto Carlos, the star of Real Madrid's left wing, was stepped on and injured his ankle by an opponent's player during the scramble. Tongfan had no choice but to replace him with Juan Mata, who was still making a cross on the bench. As a result, the hammer Marcelo, who had just been happy for nothing, retreated to the left back position, and the top rookie Mata served as a left winger, although he has long made up his mind to train the little boy Mata. It is definitely not what Leoli wants to let the little guy play in this way. Out of the desire to protect Mata, Leoli originally planned to let Zyro Zengte slowly adapt to the rhythm and intensity of La Liga games as a substitute in recent games. Who knows, God did not want it, and the current fact is, Roberto Carlos was carried directly into the locker room on a stretcher by the team doctor for examination, and Mata unexpectedly ushered in his debut in the Real Madrid first team. Many years later, the successful Mata described his first official game on behalf of Real Madrid in his autobiography. He used one word to describe the feeling at the time: day. This not very elegant word aptly reflects the depression in the heart of 18-year-old Mata at 22:44 on the evening of September 16, 2006, because it was in the 44th minute of the first half that Real Betis player Edu stole the ball from Mata, who was at a loss when he rushed onto the field and passed it directly to striker Alberto Rivera, who took the ball and shot directly from 40 meters away from the Real Madrid goal. This shot smashed the jaws of all Real Madrid fans under the seats in the stands, because Diego Lopez, who miraculously saved Ronaldinho's penalty in the Spanish national derby, inexplicably leaked the ball into the goal. The word leaked is used because Diego, who could have held the ball in his arms, actually made a high-reaching action on the spot and touched the crossbar above his head in a chic manner, and then watched the football float into the goal from the place he had just touched while falling. The two up-and-coming players, Diego Lopez and Juan Mata, who were highly expected by Tongfan, jointly gave Real Betis a goal, and the score on the field was 1:1 exclamation point for Real Betis. This was a life-saving goal. They could tie with Real Madrid in the first half, which was something they had never dreamed of before the game. A pleasant surprise, of course. It was not only the players of Real Betis who were happy. At the Mestalla Stadium in Valencia, the Barcelona fans who followed Barcelona to watch the game also cheered loudly, because the visiting team had already taken the lead over Valencia with the goal of the Cameroonian cheetah in the 9th minute. If the score is maintained until the end of the game, then Barcelona can narrow the points gap between itself and Real Madrid as it wishes. The league road is long, and Barcelona needs to seize every opportunity to pay off its debt for losing in the first national derby. That's all I can do today. I've been staying up late for 2 nights straight. My knife is almost rusty. I'll add some essence to it and then go to bed. Chapter 77. The road of a 1,000-mile horse needs to be walked by oneself. The Bernabeu Stadium fell into silence because of Alberto Rivera's goal. Real Betis fans were the first to react. The cheers created by the lineup of less than 3,000 fans completely covered up the crowd dozens of times more than them. Real Madrid fans screamed in the last few minutes of the first half, although Real Madrid counter-attacked like an enraged bull. Every time the football was handed over to Juan Mata's feet, the team's rhythm always became a mess. And Mata's performance made Grad feel more and more that Leoli had finally made a mistake. Mistakes in stopping the ball were commonplace, and it was even more common for him to inexplicably hand the football to the feet of Betis defenders, with only a few successes. Without exception, all the crosses were received by Betis Mexican goalkeeper Sanchez. Even the onside commentator who had been cheering for Real Madrid and patting his beard couldn't stand it anymore. It seems now that Carlos' injury was the turning point in the first half of the game. Lee was promoted from Castilla. The young player Juan Mata has simply become Real Madrid's offensive poison. Looking at his clumsy performance, I suspect Mata has almost forgotten how to walk now. Who knows what Lee has taken a liking to him, which point. As for Diego, who brought miracles to us in the El Clasico, this game disappointed those who like him, due to the delay of a lot of time when Carlos was injured and came off the field. The injury time in the first half was as long as 5 minutes. For Juan Mata, who represented Real Madrid in a first-team official game for the first time, every extra minute, every second on the court was torture, so much so that, when Oliveira blew the whistle to end the first half 5 minutes later, Mata thought he heard the sound of heaven. After 15 minutes, the second half of the game begins. To everyone's surprise, Real Madrid's lineup has not changed at all. The 18-year-old rookie Juan Mata, who was dubbed offensive poison by the commentator, still appears on the left side of the team. Is Lee crazy? Can't he see that this little guy has become the key offensive side of Betis? Even if it is to train young players, this approach may be counterproductive. He was answered by the singing of more than 700 million Real Madrid fans at the scene. There is only one loser in the world. You are our madman, and bring us victory. You are full of courage and crush all enemies. Forward, Madrid. Forward. Are crazy. Go ahead. Due to the two incredible victories against Barcelona and Chelsea, the fans have completely fallen under Leoli's trousers. In the previous Spanish El Clasico, Tongfan could not be stumped by more dangerous situations than this. Now what is this situation? Do we need to worry? The big screen in the center of the stadium showed the scene of Tongfan sitting on the coach's bench with a relaxed look on his face. His smart eyes were bright looking at the performance of the players on the field, and he seemed to have a good idea of everything. After the Real Madrid fans discovered this scene, a wave of applause rang out in the night sky at the Bernabeu. Let's see, Mr. Crazy, who can always bring us victory, is sitting firmly on the diorite. What else do we have to worry about? Whether it was in front of the TV or in the stands, the Real Madrid fans who saw this scene felt so anxious that they suddenly felt relieved. The formula Tongfan equals victory is gradually becoming popular among people. As long as the little man sitting on the team's coaching bench remains calm, victory will be within easy reach. Actually a piercing gaze. Leoli is really embarrassed now. Mata's poor performance dragged down the team's offensive rhythm. Anyone who is blind can see that. During the halftime break, Tongfan considered replacing Zyro Zengte. The assistant coach also made such a suggestion privately, but if you really do this, it will be a big blow to Mata. No one wants their first performance on behalf of their home team to end in a complete failure. It seems that my approach is still a bit too anxious. Tongfan began to reflect. However, after pretending to self-examine for 0.01 second, Leoli decided to keep the little guy on the court. Now that he has chosen to push this little young lady to the stage of much attention, he must be given enough trust. Not to mention that Tongfan does not think that, just because of Mata's immaturity, the team can lose. You must know the stadium at the Bernabeu. In addition to Mata, there are 10 other hammers with high potential and high energy. Therefore, what Leoli is worried about now is not the outcome of the game, but Mr. Mata. If the little guy can survive this most difficult 45 minutes, then it will not be difficult to become a superstar like Cristiano Ronaldo with his potential of 194. If he cannot support it, he may only become a high potential and low energy dimension. Scent and his ilk, bowl is certainly indispensable, but the road to 1,000-mile horse is made step by oneself. Facts have proved that the fans' blind worship of Tongfan is not unreasonable. Less than a minute into the second half, Real Madrid finally took the lead again through Reiz's attack. Diego Lopez, who made a low-level mistake in the first half, kicked the goal kick to the Argentine handsome watermelon who had been at the front. The handsome watermelon used his bulging muscles to protect the ball steadily under his feet again, and then knocked it back to Guti. Guti pushed the ball with his arch to pass it to the fat alien Ronaldo, who was waiting in the Betis penalty area with a sly look, but the Betis central defender saw through the Golden Wolf's intention and kicked it away. The ball was taken by the little Buddha Marcelo, who continued to do what Guti had not finished. He pushed the ball with his arch from a long distance and finally put the ball under Ronaldo's feet. The next thing was simple. What would happen if Ronaldo, who was unguarded in the penalty area, got the ball? There was only one answer, being scored. In the 46th minute of the game, Ronaldo scored twice. The score was 2-1, and the home team Real Madrid took the lead again. Juan Mata was completely reduced to a spectator this time. From the time Diego Lopez kicked the ball to the time Ronaldo finally scored, Juan Mata could only watch the ball fly with his eyes. After the goal, Tongfan immediately replaced Beckham with Redondo's second, Fernando Gago. On the one hand, it was to let the popular classmate get enough rest to accumulate physical strength for the next few fierce battles, and on the other hand, it was to give Gago more opportunities. Rain and you everywhere is Leoli's principle. I guess I was too tired from staying up late. I got up at more than 10 o'clock today. 4 updates today. Try to finish before 10 o'clock in the evening. Keep typing. Chapter 78 Distance from Madrid to London. In the 70th minute of the game, Real Madrid expanded the score. Captain Guti got the ball in the midfield and passed it straight towards the alien fat man. But his centre-back Mary blocked it with his heel in a hurry. The ball fell to the feet of Real Madrid's Realize, who was eyeing the road on the right. This time Leisure didn't. Showing off his wind-like speed, he directly kicked off the pass. Brother Mary, who just used his heel to block Guti's through ball, once again made an embarrassing save, but this time his luck seemed to be a little worse. His header unexpectedly returned the ball to Guti at the edge of the penalty area. It was Mary's two clearances that made Real Betis goalkeeper Sanchez keep moving back and forth in front of the goal. The tragedy was that when Mary tipped the ball to Guti for the last time, Sanchez was coming from the goal line. On the road sprinting to the penalty spot, Guti showed his agility. Before the ball landed, he directly used the arch of his foot to reach one end coquettishly. Sanchez's legs were still moving forward under the action of inertia, but he had to look back at the football's flight path like a rhinoceros looking at the moon. However, Sanchez's piercing eyes and Mary's horrified expression could not stop the football from jumping into the Real Betis goal. Boom. The Bernabeu is boiling, no matter from any angle. This is a wonderful goal. After scoring, Guti stood at the edge of Betis's penalty area, pointing his proud finger to the night sky at the Bernabeu, waiting for his teammates to rush over to celebrate! 3:1. Guti's goal basically sealed the outcome of the game. On the sidelines of the coaching bench, Leoli and Grad also jumped up and hugged each other in celebration. Guti, beautiful goal. Real Madrid won the victory as usual, but for Lee Tongfan, he has not solved Mata's problem. The on-site commentator was right. Although Real Madrid scored another goal, this goal still had nothing to do with Mata. Compared with the brilliance of the right winger Bucero, this first-time representative of Real Madrid, the young players participating in the La Liga game have no highlights at all, except for mistakes. After the goal, the fourth official raised the substitution sign. Lee Tongfan continued to give young players opportunities. Modric, the honest Croatian young man, came on and replaced Guti, the hero of the goal. Guti was greeted with warm applause from more than 70,000 fans in the audience. Everyone was impressed by the imaginative and wonderful shot by the Real Madrid captain just now. This time Guti did not have any dissatisfaction for being substituted early. The Golden Wolf used his wet arms to hug Modric, who was about to replace him, and even kissed the Croatian young lady gently on the forehead. Come on, Real Madrid. Afterwards, the excited Guti stepped forward and hugged Lee Tongfan. Compared with previous seasons, Guti's performance this season can be described as reborn. Lee Tongfan placed the Golden Wolf in his favorite midfielder position, which fully demonstrated his passing talent. Continuous goals and assists are the best proof. Golden Wolf has no reason not to be grateful to Lee Tongfan. Guti, who performed well, was replaced, but Juan Mata, who performed poorly and showed no improvement, unexpectedly continued to stay on the field. After Beckham and Guti both left the field, Real Madrid's offensive rhythm was controlled by the honest Modric. Before taking the field, the Croatian midfielder received instructions from Leoli to try to give as much ball power to rookie Juan Mata. Leoli must continue to give Mata opportunities. Only by slowly finding a feeling on the court can the little guy's confidence grow. If you want to become a superstar, you can't do it without the courage to move forward. Being gentle and elegant off the court will be welcomed by others, but if you continue to pretend to be innocent during the game, you will only be rounded out by others. So, little guy, get rough now. It's a pity that Juan Mata still hasn't found the feeling of playing football. There were even sporadic boos from the fans. In the 84th minute of the game, Real Madrid scored another goal. Coach Higuain, who has created scoring opportunities for his teammates many times, received Fernando Gago's quick free kick near the center line and headed the ball to score. It is worth noting that this time the cooperation was between two Argentines. Shota made sparks on the court for the first time after joining Real Madrid, which is a good sign. However, Mata still did not have any credit for this goal. In the end, the score was fixed at 4:1. Ronaldo scored twice for Real Madrid. Guti and Zigua each scored one goal. while Real Betis was led by their blind cat Alberto Rivi. I caught a dead rat by pulling the tube and scored a goal 40 meters away from the goal, while Diego Lopez was touching high in a cool way. At the same time, at the Mestalla Stadium in Valencia, Barcelona had the last laugh in the away game. With the goals of Cameroon's Chicharito and Portugal's Tormatico, they defeated the Bat Legion 0:2 after 2 games. In the La Liga standings, Real Madrid ranked first with 12 points and 12 points from 4 games, while Villarreal, the Yellow Submarine, ranked second, third and fourth with 9 points and 3 wins. They are Real Sociedad and Getafe led by German Schuster. As for Barcelona, they are currently ranked 10th in the La Liga standings with a record of 2 games, 1 win and 1 loss. Real Madrid did not capsize in the gutter as many Barcelona fans hoped, and Barcelona did not let Real Madrid fans' hopes of Valencia blocking their opponents come true. The 2 La Liga giants took all 3 points through their own efforts. The league has just started, and the feud continues. After the game, major media commented on the performance of the 2 giants. Since the 2 games were uneventful, there was really no G-spot that could attract the attention of fans. Some experts focused their attention on the 18-year-old Juan Mata, who performed for the first time at the Bernabeu and failed. This is exactly what Leoli is worried about. It seems that Lee Tongfan has regarded Arsene Wenger as his idol, but the gap between Juan Mata and Cesc Fabregas is obviously farther than the distance from Madrid to London. The 17-year-old Fabregas can play 33 times for Arsenal in a season and score 2 goals, but the 18-year-old Juan Mata gave Real Madrid a goal in his first game. The difference between the 2 is not only between Lee Tongfan and Wenger, but also between La Masia and Castilla. Flaws, Editor-in-Chief of Mundo Deportivo. Second update. Thanks to Gaoki 821,216 for the reward today. Welcome Wang Lu to show up. Chapter 79. Lee Tongfan bites whoever he catches. Slow reaction, lack of awareness, short and thin. I can't think of any other words to describe him, except the 5 words offensive Terminator. This is a new Castilla product that Lee Tongfan introduced to the world. Juan Mata. Nicolas Cage, special correspondent of Daily Sports. Lee's courage and determination to promote young people are worthy of admiration, but please wear myopic glasses before choosing young players. Juan Mata is obviously not the best one. Karenson, a reporter of the British Sun in Madrid. Of course, there are also people who speak well of Lee Tongfan. The madman is full of courage for all challenges. Juan Mata is just a small accident. There are still many good guys in Castilla waiting for Lee to discover. Yes, I have no reason not to support Lee's work. He has done a great job in Real Madrid compared to Barcelona's La Masia youth training camp. Real Madrid's youth training tradition has been lost for too long. I urgently hope that Lee can help us find it back. Dardania Malo, Editor-in-Chief of AS. This is a signal that the club will pay more attention to Castilla. Juan Mata and Ilared have been summoned by Lee. The assistant coach of the first team, Greed, said that Lee will provide more opportunities for Castilla's young Eagles in his plan, and the tragedy of Portillo and Soldado will not happen again. Yes, this is Lee, who brings us victory, and brings us hope. Carlos Ruben, the official lackey of Lee Tongfan and deputy editor-in-chief of Marca. Note, little Ruben has been miraculously promoted from a small intern reporter to deputy editor-in-chief in less than 3 months, after joining Marca, because of the favor of old Lee. Well, at the same time, it is not ruled out that his underground editor-in-chief godfather All Nunez has selfishly supported him. Unfortunately, whether it is Flaws or Ruben, they have touched the reverse scale of old Lee this time, because what Mata needs is a relaxed environment to grow slowly, and the media hype, whether it is praise or malicious, is a smelly shit stirring stick that always makes things a mess. So Leoli, like a mother wolf protecting her cubs, bit whoever she caught in the Marca newspaper's dictatorship and various disobedience column. I think it's time for Mr. Flaws and Mr. Nicolas Cage to shut their stinking big mouths. What qualifications do two shameless people who show off their sour words have to point fingers at my players? Juan Mata is my player. I know clearly what a great guy he is. It is inevitable for young people to make mistakes. He will continue to appear in the Real Madrid first team lineup. There is no doubt about this. In our China, there is an old saying, don't pretend to be cool, pretending to be cool will be struck by lightning. God bless you, may you all safely spend the rainy season in Spain. At the same time, Lee Tongfan was very dissatisfied with the booing of Mata by the fans in the match against Real Betis. We are from the same family, we sang Come On Madrid together, and all those who love and support Real Madrid should not boo their own players. This is a betrayal of the white jersey. If this happens again, when the team is ahead in the future, I will give you a defeat as you wish. Of course, playing for others cannot solve all problems. Lee Tongfan focused his main energy on the team. Roberto Carlos, the heavy artillery king who was injured in the last game, was diagnosed with a sprained ankle after the game and needed to rest for a month. Another Brazilian, Cicinho, who finally got a chance to start, was diagnosed with a rib contusion by the team doctor after the game and needed to rest for a week. It's really a waste of effort. Leoli looked at Cicinho's injury report and sighed helplessly. This Brazilian right back who joined the Giants at the age of 26 is really unlucky. After careful calculation, including the 2 Brazilian defenders with the same fate, there are now 4 unlucky patients in the Real Madrid first team. The other 2 are Robinho, the Black Devil, and Raul, the captain and flag of Real Madrid and the Lord of the Rings among the 4. Raul has basically recovered from his injury and returned to the game. Robinho is still receiving expert treatment because of his arm fracture. It will take at least a week before he can return. Fortunately, Real Madrid is rich and powerful, and the depth of the bench is comparable to the Ariana Trench in the Western Pacific. Every position has a star substitute that other teams can covet. Otherwise, Leoli really has to consume his character points to activate the artifact FM to heal these hammers. This is the advantage of the Giants. Since the injury problem is not worth worrying about, Leoli's only worry is one thing: Juan Mata. Originally, in Lee Tongfan's initial plan, he wanted to let the little boy play as a substitute for a few games, and after he slowly adapted to the rhythm of the La Liga, he would use FM to improve the little guy's current ability value, and at one stroke, he would promote Mata to the position of supernova. Who knew that Roberto Carlos' injury brought all this forward? And this somewhat shy little boy's performance in the game was indeed a bit sorry for the audience, attracting a group of frenzy bees and butterflies to fan the flames, especially Flaws, the omnipresent sinister man. When he mentioned this guy, I hated him so much. Damn it, if that's the case, then I will really fight with you. Speaking of Lee Tongfan's temper, he definitely belongs to a donkey. If he is not led away, he will go backwards. You have to follow the stubble, otherwise he will definitely fight with you. So Leoli was determined to support little Mata and slap Flaws, a sinister man, several times. It would also let those who have no confidence in Zaire show to know how terrifying the Maverick with a potential of 194 is. Under Lee Tongfan's anger, Mata, who was still squatting in a corner of the Madrid Sports City to reflect and summarize, had unknowingly locked in the starting lineup for Real Madrid's next games against Celta Vigo, Valencia and AEK Athens. The little guy I would never have imagined that my journey to becoming a superstar would have started out of a fit of anger. So, Lee Tongfan, who had made up his mind, began to plan to win over Zaire Mata, just like this guy shamelessly came up with the so-called internet core training method and Kigan healing. When modifying Beckham and the fat alien, it is important to highlight his wise and powerful image. But for a little guy like Mata, for a demon, the way to win people's hearts is very simple. A contract extension with the first team is enough to settle everything. But when it came to the contract, Leoli suddenly remembered that Mata didn't seem to have an agent yet. It seemed like he should suggest that the little guy hire an agent. Wait, agent? A very shameless idea suddenly flashed into Leoli's mind. If the superstar he created was taken by others in vain, wouldn't it be an advantage to those white-eyed managers? What if these young ladies are led astray and don't listen to themselves? Is there any way to collect all these future supernovas into my own account? The third update. Keep coding. Thanks to Bookfriend 20,100,322 and Layman023 for their generous rewards. Thank you Yexm0 for your great review and reminder for updates. Welcome Wang Lu back. Haha. Chapter 80 The whole world's suspicion and one person's trust. Is there any way to collect all these future supernovas into my own account. Be your own agent for young ladies. Obviously not. Not to mention, whether Leoli now has the energy and ability to provide professional services in financial management, legal and life aspects to his players all day long. FIFA's rules and regulations alone seem to be very restrictive in this regard. The head coach, who also serves as an agent, will cause people to panic, just like the emergence of clones. Soon some people will wonder whether only his own players can get the opportunity to play, which is not conducive to the unity of the locker room. Maintain your authority with the head coach, so can you find someone you can trust completely to hand over those future stars who are still waiting to be discovered by big scouts. This idea is actually the same as the problem Leoli encountered when he was looking for an agent for himself. There were too few suitable candidates. Tongfan patted his head and suddenly thought, if it doesn't work, let his brother, who is about to graduate from college, try it. Anyway, it was as difficult for him to find a job after graduating from a third-rate university as it was for Wu Dalong to find a wife. In this way, the wealth would not go to outsiders, but this guy hasn't even passed set 4 so far. He can't pass the language barrier first, and his conditions and other aspects are even worse. He doesn't have the teeth to swallow this big piece of fat. This sudden idea is very tempting, but it is very difficult to implement it. Before finally making up his mind, Leoli had to think carefully, put it aside for now, and wait for a chance to have a good chat with my brother when I have time to see what he means. Tongfan doesn't want to become an evil feudal parent who takes care of everything. Let's solve Matter's problem first. Juan Mata doesn't know how he has survived these days. When he got up in the morning and opened the newspaper of the day, almost the whole of Spain was talking about him. Mata found that he had become famous overnight. Unfortunately, unlike the sweet dream I had while sleeping in the players' dormitory of Castilla after representing Real Madrid in the game against Real Betis, what I received was not flowers and applause, but overwhelming criticism and censure. Poor technique, poor consciousness, poor body, poor running, poor passing. The way the media describes me is nothing short of perfect. When he was still a member of Castilla, Mata had imagined countless times that one day the head coach of the first team would suddenly like him, and then he would enter the first team, then play in La Liga, and then become famous all over the world. All the young eagles of Castile have such a dream, and Mata and Delared waited until the god of luck favored them. However, after actually playing in La Liga, Mata found that the development trajectory he had imagined in advance had completely changed. This feeling, to use a more vulgar term, is that the girl he worked so hard to pursue was kicked by someone else. The bud in the fairy tale of becoming famous with one goal. Mata guessed the beginning correctly, but failed to guess the ending. Of course, for Mata, things are not so bad that it is irreversible, because there is one person who has maintained his support from beginning to end. Real Madrid coach Tongbiam. All the articles that Leoli recently published in Marca newspaper in support of Mata were neatly cut out by the little boy and carefully posted on the bedside. Whenever he had time, the little guy would read them carefully, and then all worries disappear. Mr. Rice Tong said, "You are not qualified to comment on my players." He also said, "I know clearly what a great player Juan Mata is." Also said, "Juan Mata will always appear in the Real Madrid first team lineup." Of course, what impressed Mata the most was Tongfan's lustful words when they first met at Madrid Sports City. "Work hard, little guy. You will become a legend of Real Madrid." Even if all the suspicions in the world were put together, they would not be as much as the trust of him alone. Mata jumped up from the bed, ran to the mirror, made a smiling face, clenched his fists, and said silently in his heart, "Come on, Mata. For your parents, for yourself, for your job, Mr. Lee." Then after washing up, I ran to Madrid Sports City on time to participate in the team's training. Until now, the little guy is still earning the salary of the second tier team and cannot compare with the superstars who receive high salaries. Buying a car, even a second-hand car, that has been eliminated, is a luxury for Mata. The weather was very nice. When Mata ran to the training base, he was already sweating slightly. The first person to greet him was assistant coach Greed. Mata found that Mr. Greed looked at him a little strangely and seemed to be mumbling something in his mouth. In fact, if the young lady gets closer, she can clearly hear what Grade is saying. He doesn't look likely at all. He shouldn't be an illegitimate child or a relative. Why does Lee care so much about this little guy? Matter mustered up the courage to say hello to the very strict second boss of the first team. Good morning, Mr. Greed. Oh, morning. Lee wants you to stop by his office before training. Zaro. Zhengtai's heart was beating wildly. Idiot. Mr. Lee is looking for me. It's not just a scolding. My performance in the last game was too bad. Lee Tongfan looked at Mr. Matter, who knocked on the door anxiously and smiled at him with a lustful smile. How does it feel to be in the first team? Lovely, Mr. Matter. This obscene smile made Matter even more elusive about Leo Lee's intention of calling him over. Very good, boss. I like it here, and I want to stay here. Like other first team superstars, Matter decided to call the man in front of him boss. Little Shota openly expressed his ambition to the boss. Sit down. Lee Tongfan pointed to the chair in front of the desk. While greeting the somewhat reserved young lady, he took out a contract from the drawer. Since you like it here, I think the next thing will be much easier to handle. Take a look at this first. This is. Matter took the contract and looked through it briefly, and a burst of ecstasy suddenly surged into his heart. Wasn't it just for this day that he had spent more than 3,000 days and nights in 10 years? The contract clearly states, Real Madrid club is willing to offer Juan Matter a new contract with a weekly salary of 10,000 euros for 4 years, a signing fee of 500,000 euros, a minimum termination bonus of 50 million euros, and a salary increase of 5% every year. First team signing contract. The signing fee of 500,000 euros is enough to be worth the income of my parents' hard work for 6 or 7 years. As for other benefits, Matter has been dazzled by the long string of numbers on the contract. The only thing that is clear is the obscene but sincere smile of the boss behind the desk. Lee. Finally, enough for the 4th update. My eyes are so tired that they hurt. But I feel a little relieved. I finally have an explanation with the tubes. I hope Ziodeo's character is not too bad in the eyes of the tubes. Tomorrow's update will guarantee 3 and 4. Thanks to Zish and Aksha, Zuchilin, McManaman, Dismembered Dead Infant, Winter Wind, Book Friends 100,526,120,819,817, Wind Split, Gaoki 821,216, and others for their generous rewards. The knife bows and thanks. Thank you to the omnipotent god for working tirelessly to help Ziodeo point out the typos. Ziodeo will try to correct them all within this week. Chapter 81 MATA and -039, S first assist. After signing the contract, Lee Tongfan looked at Matter's overjoyed appearance and felt a little emotional. How long ago had he become a big shot who controlled other people's joys and sorrows? But good things come to an end, sending Buddha to the west. Now that Matter has been given hope, Leo Lee doesn't want to make any more mistakes. He kindly reminds the little guy, since you have become a star of Real Madrid's first team, there will definitely be many people. People are coming to you and competing to be your agent. Keep your eyes open. Hey, don't let the big bad wolf eat you up, Little Red Riding Hood. Although Aoli's tone was lewd and lewd, how could Mrs. Matter not know that the boss was doing this for her own good? Looking at the world of football, there are many young talents who have been ruined by black-hearted agents. The reason why the French genius Nicolas Anelka, known as the Devil King, has fallen even more shocking than a shooting star is not because he was bewitched by that brother's agent who wants to stuff all the dollars in the world into his ass. So this time the little boy was not confused by Leoli's seductive expression. The first team contract and the termination fee of up to 50 million euros fully demonstrated that what Leoli said to him, "You will become a legend of Real Madrid," was not just kidding. Matter's handsome little face is filled with gratitude that I will go through fire and water without hesitation. Thank you, boss. When Leoli saw it, he was overjoyed. The first step in winning people's hearts was completed. Okay, let's go to training. But if you want, you can take the time to tell your parents the news first. Understood, boss. The Consequence of Lee Tongfan's full defensive Juan matter is that after the sinister flaws, the editor-in-chief of World Sports, there is another ruthless character who can cause a small earthquake in the Spanish football world. Nicholas, the editor-in-chief of Daily Sports. Cage Tongzi clearly stood in the anti-Lee camp. Lee Tongfan angrily denounced Cage in his column as a shameless person who writes vile words. The editor-in-chief of Daily Sports quickly counterattacked in his own column, criticizing the youngest player in the history of Real Madrid. The head coach has been dazzled by the accidental victories and predicted that Lee Tongfan's good luck will soon end, and what awaits Lee will be hell. At the same time, many football legends also expressed confusion about Lee Tongfan's insistence on using Juan Mata. The founder of the Barcelona Dream Team and the Dutch flying star Cruyff pointed out in an interview with a reporter from Catalonia Radio, Lee is an incredible young coach, but young people lack experience and rationality. Judging from Lee's treatment of Juan Mata and the news media, he still has a way to grow, except for Cruyff's evaluation, which was quite mild. The other people's comments were as vicious as the curses on the tombs of the ancient Egyptian pharaohs. Unexpectedly, when Lee saw these comments coming towards him like knives, he was not annoyed but was happy. Attack me to your heart's content, expose all your ugliness, then wash your butts, and wait for labor and management to use the magic weapon FM 2007 to kill you to pieces. As long as you don't disturb the little lady Mata, wait for the little guy to hold on after this period of time. I will artificially ripen this shot with a potential of 194. When the time comes, treacherous. In fact, the reason why Lee recklessly provoked those media bosses in his column was to get himself burned. As long as this gossip fire burns on himself, then the green-headed flies will criticize Mata. There will naturally be less attention and choreography before the young eagle soars into the sky. You always have to give it space to flap its wings, right? On September 17th, 2006, other games in the fourth round of La Liga ended one after another, and the top four in the league standings did not change. Although Yellow Submarine Villarreal drew 0-0 at home with Osasuna, still ranked second with a record of 4 games, 3 wins and 1 draw. Third and fourth are Real Sociedad with 2 wins, 2 draws and Getafe with 2 wins, 1 draw and 1 loss respectively. The Catalan giant Barcelona slipped from 10th to 13th. With 2 games less in the weekly best team announced by the Spanish Football Association, Real Madrid has 4 players including Ronaldo, Joel Luca, Guti and Cicinho, while Barcelona only has right back Gianluca Zambrotta. On September 20th, the 5th round of the league and the 2nd round of the Copa del Rey started at the same time. Barcelona defeated Real Sociedad, which ranked 3rd in the league, 2-0 at home. The goals scored for the team were still the Chicharito and the Portuguese Dormadico. On the 21st, Real Madrid will face Celta Vigo at home. On the morning before the game, Lee received bad news. Francisco Jimenez, the weird uncle and Real Madrid scout who had been sent out to seduce Mexican youngster Carlos Vela, told Lee that the Arsenal did not immediately agree to the offer of £4.5 million. Saying that it would take some time to consider, increase the price. Lee was cruel and withdrew another £500,000. Villa has been loaned to Salamanca club in the Spanish 2nd division by Arsenal. If he waits until the little guy reveals his talents, as if he is pregnant, the price will be more than this. If you offer a price of £500 to a 17-year-old player who has not played in the top league, I believe Wenger, a professor who lives a tight life in London, would agree. At 21 p.m. the game officially begins. As all Real Madrid fans expected, Real Madrid won the game with a strong wind sweeping away the fallen leaves. At 7 minutes and 56 seconds, the fat alien Ronaldo received a free kick from the popular Beckham and scored a rare header. 1:0, Real Madrid got off to a dream start. In the 25th minute, Ronaldo made a long run and scored his second goal of the game! 2:0. Real Madrid pursued the victory. At halftime, Lee Tongfan replaced Van Nistelrooy with the handsome watermelon and replaced the yellow-carded golden wolf Guti with Modric. continue to press forward. In the 46th minute, Ronaldo received a pass from Juan Mata, made a low shot from the front, left of the penalty area, jumped on the lawn, and rushed into the far corner, performing a hat-trick. The Bernabeu audience applauded, but compared to the hat-trick of the fat alien, what Leoli cared more about was that Mata finally brushed an assist. I say swipe, because Mata's assist came too easily. A normal cross pass was turned into a goal by the fat alien with extraordinary personal ability. In the 54th minute, Real Madrid continued to expand the score. Ronaldo's long shot outside the penalty area caused Celta goalkeeper Esteban to lose his grip, and Zairo Shuazigwa followed closely and scored. There are 2 more chapters before 10 PM. Thank you for the rewards from Juan Lanayanshan, Dismembered Dead Infant, Zujia Lang Sheo, 380,455 Zlingling for 123 454,465, Shuayao 20,100,320 to Langar Miming, and Mossam. Thank you. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 82 from 155 to 180. After 5 rounds of La Liga, Real Madrid has won 5 games and is at the top of the list. It is 5 points higher than the second-ranked Yellow Submarine Villarreal and leads the way. The alien Ronaldo scored a crazy 10 goals in 5 league games, with an average efficiency of 2 goals per game, leaving countless forwards unable to catch up, and following the fat man's fat ass to eat dust from afar, and David Beckham, who was whimsically transformed into a defensive midfielder by Lee Tongfan, even had a phenomenal performance with 2 goals, 6 assists and 30 effective steals in 5 games, making those jealous and tireless attackers attack thousands of people. The fans who were obsessed with just a stadium vase blushed with embarrassment. In addition to these 2 rejuvenated veterans, Higuain, Fernando Gago, Luka Modric and Vedran Choluka, who joined Real Madrid at the beginning of the 2006-07 season, adapted quickly. The rhythm of La Liga has delivered an impeccable report card for the critical media and fans. The person who created all this was Lee Tongfan, who was called madman by the media. He is a 22-year-old Chinese who officially joined Real Madrid on July 1, 2006 despite a tsunami of doubts. A Chinese who before that no one knew which crack in the stone he jumped from. A Chinese who has already joined Real Madrid. A strong hurricane has blown up in world football, and it is getting worse for the Chinese. For Real Madrid and its fans, September is coming to an end, and is a fairy tale month point, because their young coach led the team to defeat all enemies, and achieved all possible victories. Schuster's Getafe, Rijkaard's Barcelona, Mourinho's Chelsea, all the enemies standing opposite Real Madrid were crushed one by one by the madman leading the guards. This kind of human blocking killing people. Killing Buddhas when they are in front of me, and even if my wife is in front of me, I dare to shout, I just won't kneel on the washboard. This momentum makes all opponents who will face the challenge of Real Madrid in the next game tremble with fear. The 6th round of the league has not yet started. Real Madrid's next opponent in the league, Valencia coach Flores, who had just lost to Barcelona without temper at the Mestalla Stadium at home, was accepting reporters. During the interview, he lamented, Lee has proven with his own performance that he has incredible abilities. Real Madrid fans should be grateful that they can have such an excellent head coach. For us, the next game against Real Madrid it will be a difficult challenge. The unanimous praise from the media and opponents has greatly satisfied Lee Tongfan's sense of vanity. However, Leoli is not the kind of good guy who happily forgets his ancestor's surname when others reward him with 3 carrots. After the vanity is over, he has to be serious and serious. Raise a young man and create a star. Lead Real Madrid's Hammers to conquer the country carefully. After returning to the villa after training, he immediately started the Matter artificial ripening plan first run FM 2007. After reading the archive, the system will pop up several reminder boxes as usual. Ding dong, you led Real Madrid to defeat Real Betis, and the system will reward you with 2 character points. Ding. Done. 1 week has passed in the game, and the system will automatically deduct 2 character points. Ding. Done. You have received the gratitude of Real Madrid player Juan Mata, and the system will reward you with 2 character points. Ding. Done. The system reminds you that you still have 1 ability point that has not been allocated. Clicking OK one by one to eliminate these prompt boxes. Leoli simply calculated that after the Spanish El Clasico, he had a total of 76 character points. After that, there will be losses and profits. In terms of point consumption, from September 9th to September 23rd, maintaining the normal operation of the FM 2007 system for 2 weeks consumes 4 character points. 2 abnormal saves against Chelsea in the Champions League consume 4 character points, and the last startup the 2 character points spent on the scouting tool, from Genie Scout, consume a total of 10 character points. Although the consumption is not small, the harvest is even more gratifying. The Champions League defeated Chelsea, a blue team that was judged by the system to be stronger than Real Madrid, and received a 5-point bonus reward, plus consecutive victories over Betis and Celta Vigo, as well as the Colts. Tar's gratitude was so great that he received a total of 11 character points as a reward. The 2 offset each other, and Lee Tongfan earned a total of 1 character point in the last 14 days, which is considered a small profit. There are now 77 character points left! 77 ? What an unlucky number. It is worth mentioning that in addition to character points, after defeating Chelsea, the system once again awarded Leoli some inexplicable ability points, since the first ability point gained last time was added to the tactical knowledge sub-item in the mental ability of the head coach profile. It has not had any obvious effect for more than 10 days. Leoli has no obvious effect on tactics. The understanding is still limited to a very superficial level. Apart from taking time out every day to shamelessly ask questions, to recharge grad a little bit, there is no immediate effect. So Lee Tongfan kept the newly acquired ability points unused, so that every time he started after the game, the FM 2007 system will remind Leoli tirelessly like Shima that you still have 1 character point that has not been allocated in Lee Tongfan's opinion. It is better to take a safe route before figuring out the specific effects of ability points. After all, playing FM 2007 is like playing with your life. For a desperado like Leoli who is so afraid of death, every piece of good steel must be used to the best effect. After sorting out the relevant points, Lee Tongfan clicked on FM millimeters, data modifier, to start ripening the little matter point. The homepage of FM millimeters quickly displayed the relevant data of Juan Mata. Leoli went straight to the point, to increase Mata's current ability value, and consume 2 points of character points, to increase the little boy's current ability from 155 to 180! 180. This value is not high or low among top stars, but it is enough for the 18-year-old Mata to transform from the Castilla failed youth training product in the media's mouth to a super first-class new star that can make the whole of Europe dumbfounded overnight. As for the remaining 14 points of potential, let the little guy slowly improve through his own hard training. Lee Tongfan noticed that even Barcelona's golden boy Messi, who just became famous through a hat trick in the Spanish national derby, has a current ability of only 179, which is 1 point lower than the modified Mata. After the modification, Leoli looked at the system prompt save successfully and smiled slyly. La Masia Youth Training Camp is world famous, and Leoli's ability to turn stone into gold is not bad. Let's see who of these 2 short-legged tigers will have the last laugh. On September 24th, Real Madrid will play away against Valencia, which has top wing attack groups such as David Silva, Joaquin, and Vicente. It is a good opportunity for Juan Mata to wash away the failure to the world and clear his name for himself and Castilla. Second update. Thank you all for your recommendations and collections. Thank you for the rewards from our love novels, Soul of Nile, Death Without Crying, Shifen Wood Easy Eyeing, Shuayao 08032914032525, Jayandan, and Chanzaoki. Also, oh my god, I actually saw that the Platinum Master Duinran Shiana gave 1888. I thought it was a copycat at first, but after clicking it, I found that it was really the real one. I was so excited. Third update before 10 o'clock. Chapter 83 The EMPEROR and -039 S new clothes and the child who dares to tell the truth. Valencia is the third largest city in Spain. It is known as the Pearl of the Mediterranean because of its extremely advantageous geographical location. It was extremely glorious in history as the financial capital of the Mediterranean Empire and has its own unique tradition and language. Valencia Stations are famous for their individualism, emotionalism, and creativity point, but in the eyes of avid football fans, Valencia Football Club is the reason why people remember this city. The Bat Legion, founded in 1919, is one of the few traditional teams in the Spanish Serie A that can challenge the two hegemons of Real Madrid and Barcelona. They have won the title 6 times in 1942, 1944, 1947, 1971, 2002 and 2004. The champion of La Liga has won the runner-up and third place in the league countless times and has this extremely glorious history. There are countless world-class coaches who have coached the Bat Legion, and there are even more football superstars who have played for the Bat Legion, such as Hiddink, Aragones, Cooper, Ranieri, and Valdano. Legends have been written here. Argentinian superstar Kempes, Little Donkey Ortega, Lone Wolf Romario, Little Insect Lopez, and current Real Madrid general manager Mijatovic also made their name on the battlefield here, especially in 2002, the famous Spanish coach who later led the Red Army Liverpool to stage a magical night in Istanbul in the UEFA Champions League final. After Benitez coached the Bat Army, Valencia finally became dominant for a while. In the 2003-2004 season, Valencia came from behind to overtake Real Madrid to win the league title under very difficult circumstances and defeated Marseille in the UEFA Cup final to win the championship. Then they defeated the UEFA Champions League champion Porto in the European Super Cup, winning the European Super Cup brilliant triple crown. Today, such a strong team has become the gift prepared by Tongfan for 18-year-old Juan Mata, a stage where he can become famous like Messi. On September 24th, Real Madrid challenged the Bats in an away game. Before the team departed for Valencia, Tongfan held a press conference to announce to the media that Real Madrid and Mata had successfully renewed their contract. The club paid tribute to the 18-year-old. The youngster offers a 4-year contract with a weekly salary of €10,000 and a value of €3 million. By this time, there is no need to hide little Shota behind him anymore, because Leoli believes that 108's current ability will definitely shut up all those who have doubted the little guy. Moreover, in order to ensure that the little guy could become famous in one battle, Tongfan made 3 abnormal saves in the FM 2007 system, consuming 6 character points, and adjusted the system tactics around Zio's many times before he got an order. A satisfying ending. It's a pity that the media didn't know everything behind this. When the news came out, it really aroused doubts and uproar from the outside world. Everyone was waiting to see the joke between 22-year-old Tongfan and 18-year-old Juan Mata. 1900 hours on the evening of the 24th, Mestalla Stadium, Valencia, in the 6th round of the 2006-07 Spanish Primera Division season. Real Madrid's away game against Valencia officially started after the referee Fernando Wittens, an acquaintance, blew his whistle. The first to kick off was the Valencia team playing at home. In the last league game, Valencia, which played at home, had already lost to another giant Barcelona team. The league started with 5 games, 2 draws and 3 losses without a win. Therefore, Flores, who was almost forced to hang himself by the media, chose to choose. They adopted a more aggressive 4-3-3 formation and sent out all their main players, striving to overthrow Real Madrid, who came to challenge in order to meet their immediate needs and keep the job they had finally obtained. David Villa, Miguel Angelo, Vicente Silva, Joaquin and other attacking players started together. From the first second of the game, they launch a wave of attacks towards Real Madrid's goal. Although Real Madrid is in an away game, Tongbiam's offensive nature has not changed. The goalkeeper is a beautiful man who has exhausted the rest bonus effect of the Ruby God of War card. The back line is Marcelo, Cannavaro, and Joel Luca. There are 4 hammers lined up with Ramos, the defensive midfielder Batshuayi, the attacking midfielder Gushuayi, the right wing Materialize, and the forward Van Nistelrooy is partnered with the fat alien. As for the left wing, it is the young shot Juan Mata who is destined to be the protagonist tonight, since the two head coaches had the idea of playing against each other from the first touch of the ball after the game whistle sounded. The 22 players on the field immediately started fighting fiercely like a group of thugs with red eyes, and cheering for this killing were 45,000 Bat fans and more than 1,000 Real Madrid white believers. Valencia fans put up eye-catching slogans in the stands: "Forward, life or death, forward, Valencia," as Spanish football's recent affairs regarding Juan Mata have been hotly debated by the media. Many Valencia fans actually used tricks on the little young lady. In the north stand of the Mestalla Stadium, some fans held up clown-shaped caricatures with Mata's face on them while making the maximum noise to attract the attention of players on the field and television broadcast cameras. Fans think that this way, they can make this good-for-nothing little guy feel timid and weak-limbed and create opportunities for the team they support, because in the first 2 rounds of the league, Real Betis and Celta have obtained many scoring opportunities through the left wing guarded by Juan Mata, and Mata's frequent mistakes on the field also made many Valencia fans believe that as long as Real Madrid makes full use of this weakness, this game may become Lee Tongbum's first defeat of the season. Although Betis and Celta lost the game in the end, Valencia did not necessarily have to, because the Bat Legion has the top wingers in La Liga and the Spanish national team's #1 forward Villa. Their aggressive style of play and rhythm are by no means comparable to the likes of Betis and Celta. Such a team, as long as give them a little chance and they can crush their opponents. Of course, fans can think of this, and Flores, the coach of the Bat Corps, will naturally not forget it. In Flores' view, the reason why the stubborn Lee Tongfan insisted on using ineffective Juan Mata despite all the criticism was very simple. In the final analysis, it was because of 2 words: face. If Lee Tongfan is asked to abandon this young player he single-handedly promoted from Castilla, it is tantamount to asking the young Real Madrid coach to admit to all the media who questioned him that he was wrong. This is something crazy Lee Tongfan cannot accept. However, the madman must have forgotten, stubbornness and contempt for the General Assembly will make people pay the price, and no matter how proud they are no exception. Paranoid young man. Flores looked at the confident Lee Tongfan on the opponent's coaching bench and sneered. "I have long heard that the Chinese regard the so-called face as important as their own lives. This kind of incomprehensible nation your character is indeed reflected vividly, but don't think that this will shut up those who doubt you. The emperor's new clothes will always be revealed. Let me, Flores, be the kid who dares to tell the truth. There are still 4 minutes and 10 o'clock, that's before, right? Chapter 84. This is the price of being cold." Yes, bad coach Flores smiled very coldly. Of course, for a head coach, there is nothing wrong with being cold, because it shows that the old man is confident. But if even his favorite disciple Villa becomes very cold, then for Valencia, it will be not a good thing. Maybe Villa was lazy during the warm-up, so when Joaquin, once known as Spain's #1 magic wing, broke through Ramos and passed the football comfortably to him, who had an excellent position in the Real Madrid penalty area, after 2 stiff turns in a row, Villa just couldn't find the direction of the Real Madrid goal guarded by the handsome card boy, and his last shot was missed in the eyes of even him, who was incredulous. In the 4th minute of the game, David Villa, the 24-year-old leading forward of the Bats, who had double 20 shots and penalty kicks and double 18 technical dribblings in the FM 2007 system, was buzzing as the Valencia fans held their heads and gasped. Amidst the buzz, he strangely wasted a perfect opportunity that he could have scored the ball in 1,000 ways on ordinary days. Unfortunately, for Villa, the punishment for being lazy in the warm-up is definitely not just this one. In the 6th minute of the game, Villa wasted another opportunity. Valencia rookie David Silva continuously broke through Marcelo and Italian bald man Cannavaro with a razor-like cross, but was still a little cold. The Villa shot into the post when facing an empty goal. Only 6 minutes into the game, the winger attack group that the Bat Legion is proud of did continue to show its power as they wished. However, the striker partner, who can always easily complete the final blow, behaved very unkindly, causing the fans in the stands to do two consecutive things. This is a deep breath that tests your lung capacity. Flores was furious on the sidelines, and Lee Tongfan and assistant coach Grad were both dumbfounded. Could it be that Villa has been longing for Real Madrid for a long time and wants to send a letter of nomination? This is the price of cold. CCTV5 legend Han Kayasheng said that, if you continue to waste opportunities, you will be punished. Valencia's retribution happened at 9 minutes and 13 seconds. Ramos, the long-haired hammer who couldn't find the north, after being continuously broken through by his national team teammate Joaquin, finally exploded with a rumble in his small universe. After grabbing the ball from the foot of Joaquin, who was in a state of disbelief, Ramos, with his long hair flowing, began to show off his coquettish running and footwork to the audience and friends in the stands and in front of the TV. One dunk. After losing the ball, Joaquin quickly rushed to counter-attack, accelerate. The man and ball are separated, and the defensive bat David Albelda, whose speed and explosive power is far inferior to his own, accelerates. Valencia's left back Emiliano Moretti saw Ramos breaking through two of his teammates in succession and then rushed over fiercely with his well-developed small chest muscles. He looked back at himself. Due to the distance between him and his own goalkeeper Luis Mora, he wisely chose to retreat slowly to block the breakthrough line, not giving Ramos enough room to sprint and waiting for his teammates to catch up and support him. Opportunity. This is Real Madrid's best opportunity since the start of the game, brother Duan said in a somewhat melodious voice as he met with the fans in front of the TV. Ramos' sudden force disrupted Valencia's defensive system, past Joaquin, Albelda, and then Valencia had only 3 defenders left in the backcourt. Guti and Mata followed up, 3-on-3 in the front court. Look at this, how to deal with the ball. Pass the ball. Mata shoots. It's just a hair's breadth. It's a pity, brother. Duan's jump-like explanation using point-based explanations could not satisfy the visual hunger of fanboys. The scene just now was played back in slow motion on TV. After Ramos continuously broke through Joaquin and Albelda, there was no alley to the end. Since Moretti chose to prevent the breakthrough, the hammer chose to pass the ball. Moretti did not rush forward immediately, so Ramos had at least 3 seconds to observe the movement of his teammates and then use the remaining 4 seconds to perform a standard pose and send the football to the back of the backcourt penalty area. There, a short-legged tiger with a height of 1.7 meters rushed up with a roar. Juan Mata. There were 2 teammates who responded. Ramos chose to pass the ball to Mata instead of Guti because the very vindictive head coach Lee Tongfan emphasized over and over again that football must be handed over immediately before the game. To Mr. Mata, if you don't obey me, of course. In addition to this, Ramos found that the little guy who obviously couldn't keep up with the team's rhythm in the first 2 games was unexpectedly sharp in this counter-attack. Guti attracted the attention of 2 bats in the middle, and Mata's side seemed very open. Ramos's passing speed was not fast, but it was very high. After bypassing everyone's defense, it fell to the upper left corner of the small penalty area at high speed. Mata, who was sprinting forward, did not stop the ball and directly met the ball and volleyed hard. Boom. Amidst the noise created by 55,000 fans, the sound of the ball being hit by the instep was clear and loud. The ball was like a sky monkey whose fuse was lit on New Year's Eve, and it headed straight towards Valencia's goal. Go. Boom. The sound of the fist hitting the football made the fans more worried than before. The leader of the backcourt, Luis Mora, only had time to put his fists together, and before he could swing, the football hit his fists. The huge force made Mora's fist hit his chest heavily. After a shortness of breath, Mora, who was 1.85 meters tall and weighed 85 kilograms, fell backwards into the goal. Bang. The white football that attracted thousands of eyes was blocked by the bat goalkeeper. After the third crisp sound, it hit the crossbar of the goal and bounced out. After teasing everyone's eyes, it lay thiefly near the penalty spot. Goalkeeper Luis Mora propped himself up and turned his head back. Behind the still football, a group of players in white and black uniforms were chasing after him fiercely, less than 5 meters away. No matter which team's uniform comes first, something will happen that will make the other team despair. Today, I will try to finish 3 chapters at 8 PM, because some boy said that, if it's 10 PM, you can only read it the next day, thanks to Simple, Buddha Beats 007, Zangian Driving, Gauchan, Book Friends 20,100,322 and Liceo Watseo for their awards. Bota thank you. In addition, Xiaodao has no time to manage the book review area now. Who has experience and time to apply for the deputy moderator to help Xiaodao? Chapter 85 The BATS and -039, Ugly Duckling Song. Everyone was trying their best to dispose of the dirty white football lying on the penalty spot in the most beneficial way for their team. Bad coach Flaws stood on the sidelines and bulged his eyes, but he was the only one who was missing. I rushed forward to share the worries of the team members, but fate often makes people crazy like this, because the closest to football is the person who just kicked it out. Juan Mata, before the fourth crisp sound. Almost all Valencia fans in the stands covered their eyes. Goalkeeper Luis Mora was still lying in the door and did not get up. The team's fastest defender, 21-year-old centre-back Raul Albiol, turned around and was even faster than Guti. Half a bud slower, Mata started to rush forward the moment the Spanish goalkeeper Mora blocked the football. When the football fell back to the penalty spot, the young shot had already rounded his feet and whipped it hard again. Boom. The fourth crisp sound came as expected. The ball scored. Ouch. Hit the billboard. Unbelievable. Brother Duan Zuan, who had prepared to give the 18-year-old youngster the compliments, had to hold back his beer belly. It's less than 12 meters away from the goal. All of Valencia had surrendered, but Juan Mata, who had only participated in the league 3 times on behalf of Real Madrid, kicked the ball to the billboard behind. Look at the slow motion. The football passed by the goal. If 10 centimeters further in, maybe Mata can score his first league goal. Brother Duan Zuan's Spanish counterpart, the Spanish national TV gold medal football commentator Da Silva Crojas, while exclaiming, analyzed his views on the missed goal to the audience watching the game. Juan Mata used too much force. It seems that the doubts from the media during this period have seriously affected Mata's mentality. The little guy who was eager to prove himself chose to volley hard, but failed to grasp the part of the delicious ball. His mentality should be calmer. This will be a wonderful goal. I hope friends from the media can be tolerant of Juan Mata. After all, he is only an 18-year-old child. Before becoming a football commentator, Da Silva Cruz had a very unsuccessful career as a professional player, so he analyzed the player's mentality very well during the game commentary point this time. After relating to my own experience and judging others by myself, my attitude towards Mata seems to be much more tolerant. However, even if Da Silva wins the gold medal, he cannot represent everyone's opinions, because in front of him alone, but there were 45,000 people with serious objections. Bat Legion fans at the Mestalla Stadium, as opponents. Bat fans, it doesn't matter whether you are 18 or 80 years old. Since your performance has embarrassed us, we will make you even more embarrassed. There is an ugly duckling. His name is Mata. He looks like a little sprout. He is short and has a weak body. The ball has been lost. Look at this little sprout. He is crying. He wants to find his mother. Mommy, where are you? The Valencia fans in the north stand collectively waved cartoon banners with Mata's clown look on their hands and started singing this short song at the top of their lungs. I don't know if it was written by that wicked ghost. Gradually, except for more than 10,000 Real Madrid fans outside, everyone in the stands responded, Mommy, is there, Mommy, what? The Valencia fans didn't expect was that when they collectively laughed at Juan Mata, as if they were on steroids, there were more people laughing at them outside the Mestalla Stadium. Come and go pedestrians often look at each other in confusion. Has Valencia already lost this game to this extent? Even the fans are crying and calling mommy. After Mata kicked the ball away, he did not hold his head in regret like other Real Madrid hammers. Xiaozheng looked at his legs in surprise, shook his head, and a trace of doubt flashed in his big eyes. What happened? Well, your legs feel full of strength when you run today. The air around me is no longer as sticky as before, and it feels like a fish jumping into the water when playing football. Is this the legendary state? The boss insists on playing the starting lineup, just to help himself find his form. At this time, the ugly duckling song of the Bat fans began to resound throughout the stadium. The cartoon banners in the north stand made every player on the field immediately understand who the song was for, and their eyes were all focused on Juan, on Matter's body. Surprisingly, this time, Matter is no longer as dumbfounded as he was after the last two mistakes, and he does not put his head in his crotch and dare not see anyone. The 18-year-old rookie even shook his fist at the provocative Bat fans in the north stand, thinking over and over again in his mind before the start of the game, the running route and timing of forward penetration that the leaderly Tongfan repeatedly arranged for him in the locker room. Juan Mata became more and more confident. Come on, bring it on. Little Shota ran over and took the football from the ball boy on the sidelines, placed it squarely in front of Valencia goalkeeper Luis Mora, then turned around and retreated to the position the leader had planned for himself. Bring it on. The game continues. Mata's vigorous attack just now did not make Flores give up his offensive tactics. Valencia's all-pervasive wingers continued to plunder the front and sides of Real Madrid's penalty area, while Real Madrid was dispatched by Batshuayi and Gushuayi. Next, Riaz and Mata's wings flew together and immediately responded. The canine teeth are intertwined, and the sword is bloody. The commentators' exclamations were accompanied by the fans' constant gasps of air conditioning. Except for Lee Tongfan, who already knew the result of the game through FM 2007 predictions. Everyone's heart capacity was limited to accept this thrilling challenge like a roller coaster. If there is no goal in such an offensive battle, even God will probably not be able to stand it. At 13 minutes and 31 seconds of the game, the deadlock was broken. Joe Queen, the sharp knife on the right side of the Bat Legion, was dragged down by Marcelo, who was too hasty when he broke through. Free kick. This is the first free kick Valencia has received since the killing in the whole game has continued to this day. Among the 11 players on the field of the Bat Corps, there is no outstanding free kick taker. This ball was taken by their rookie David Silva, Villa, Vicente, Alba Albiol, except for another central defender David Navarro, and goalkeeper Luis Mora. All the bats are flying into the penalty area of Real Madrid. Thanks to book friend 20,100,322, it's great to read a book when you are bored. Bayfan Kyushu and others give big rewards. Chapter 86. Furry Football. Force. The referee Fernando Waitens blew the whistle to signal the 21-year-old David Silva, the Bat of K, to serve the ball. The Real Madrid penalty area was suddenly in chaos. Pushing and shoving, Silva observed the positions of his teammates, stepped back 3 or 4 steps, and then took a run up, hit the bottom of the football with his instep, and sent the ball quickly to the center of the Real Madrid penalty area. Because there are the most people and the most chaos there, it is a good place to fish in troubled waters. In the penalty area, Ramos hugged Albelda's waist loosely, Marcelo pulled Villa's underwear and tore it, Joel Luca used his armpits to press down Joaquin, who was a head shorter than him, and Cannavaro used his shiny big bald head to dazzle Vicente's eyes. The football was very fast, and when it entered the Real Madrid penalty area, it seemed to be suddenly pressed from above, and there was an obvious drop. More than a dozen players stretched their necks like little firestalks crying for food, and rubbed their heads towards the football. Cannavaro's bald head leaned over, but didn't hit it. Albelda jumped up and shook his brown hair, not high enough. Maslow and Villa were entangled and couldn't jump up. David Navarro did jump up, but before he could touch the ball, Joel Luca quickly pushed him down again. Beckham at the far end and the alien fat man at the front of the penalty area squeezed the Bat, who wanted to rush over with his body, and mentally supported the Real Madrid leader Ka, who was facing a severe test. Although Silva's ball was very fast, the Valencia players were determined to win, but Ka was able to occupy the position of the number 1 leader of the Spanish national team for a long time with the ability values of 188 and 192. How could it be in vain? A false reputation. This tragedy happens every day, and today it's Casillas. In the intimate hug between the players of both sides, Casillas, who was full of confidence, actually chose to leave the goal and attack. The handsome man raised his right knee to block his lower abdomen, stretched his arms forward in a hook shape, spread his 5 fingers, and took off like an eagle catching a chick, hugging the football that was close at hand. Because there were too many people in the penalty area, Casillas closed his eyes when he was sure that the football would go into his arms. This is a self-protection measure that athletes often take in fierce collisions. Casillas, with his eyes closed, felt that there was indeed a round thing in his arms, and his heart was relieved. Then he hugged the ball tightly and was knocked down by someone. I don't know who it was, and then he pressed heavily on him without caring about so much. Casillas was about to get up and launch a quick counter-attack with a hand throw, because just when he was about to hold the football, the beautiful man had already found that the lewd fat alien Ronaldo gave him a wink, and then turned and ran towards the goal of Valencia. Just now, the players of Valencia had all overwhelmed him in the half court in order to win the free kick. If he succeeded, it would definitely be a good opportunity to rewrite the score. However, why is the football in his arms furry? Less than 0.01 seconds later, the beautiful man heard a tsunami-like cheering in his ears. He opened his eyes and saw that the football in his arms was not a football. What a big head. It turned out to be the head of Real Madrid, the central defender of the Bat Army. Football. Where is the football? Following the surprised expressions of the referee Fernando Wittens and his teammates, the beautiful man found that another white ball was still rolling gently in the goal behind him. The ball actually went in. Casillas incredibly left the goal and was easily headed in by Valencia's central defender Real Madrid, Tongfan, who has become a Real Madrid fan because of Tongfan, was obviously helpless. The most stable link of Real Madrid has a problem. Casillas. But for Real Madrid, this is not the first time they have fallen behind this season. There are still more than 70 minutes, and Real Madrid has enough time to change the score. Goal. Dashield, the gold medal football commentator of Spanish national television, compared with Tongfan. Vacroas was much more neutral. Albiol was lucky to score a goal, which was the boys' first goal of the season. At 13 minutes and 31 seconds in the first half, Valencia, who played at home, took the lead. This ball was a free kick opportunity after launching an attack from Juan Mata's side. It seems that the harassment of the 18-year-old by Valencia fans was very successful. Will Tongfan replace him? Albiol struggled to break free from the arms of the big handsome man and hugged his teammates who rushed up to celebrate. Casillas, who realized his mistake, picked up the football from the goal in frustration and kicked it towards the center circle of the court. On the sidelines, Flores, the Bat coach who thought he had firmly grasped the weakness of Real Madrid, jumped up happily and then took the time to wave his fist in the direction of the Real Madrid coaching bench. Everyone knew who Flores was protesting to. However, Leoli didn't care about this Bat leader at all. The result was already doomed. Everything he did was just a foil for Juan Mata. But the only thing that made Leoli unhappy was why the situation simulated by the FM 2007 system always had the opponent scoring first. Although the reversal makes people excited, eating too much delicious ice cream will cause diarrhea. Isn't it too bad to always have a reversal? The game continues. In this offensive game, Real Albiol's goal was like the first crack in the flood control dam. As the game progressed, the dam could no longer stop the flood and collapsed instantly. Goals came one after another, but the beneficiaries were not the Bats who scored first. In the 18th minute, Real Madrid equalized the score. The goal was scored by Juan Mata, the Castro youth training waste who was sung and mocked by more than 50,000 Valencia fans for more than 10 minutes. This shortcoming of Real Madrid that Flores wanted to take advantage of gave the Bats coach a hard slap in the face with a magician-like performance. I haven't finished writing one game in 3 chapters. Please don't criticize me. There are still a few hours before going to bed. I had planned to write one more chapter, but unfortunately I ate too many peaches yesterday, and my stomach is uncomfortable. I have a low fever of 37.5. I really can't hold on any longer. A balloon. Please help me count the results of the guessing activity. Thank you for your hard work. I'm going to get in fourth for tomorrow's update, and I'll contact you tomorrow. I won't go on questions today. Please understand. Chapter 87 Unpredictable Supernatural Ability. Juan Mata's goal was simple and quick, without any telepathic running or flirtatious passing. When Real Madrid got the goal kick, the handsome man kicked the ball to the front court as usual. Since Navarro, the central defender of Valencia who was marking Van Nistelrooy, did not press the ball in the first time, the king of the small penalty area who retreated to the penalty arc easily stepped on the ball. When Navarro came up with his teeth and claws, Van Nistelrooy had turned around and pressed him with his big butt, so the two began to compete. 5 seconds later, Navarro, who was competing with Van Nistelrooy to see who was stronger, was surprised to find that Van Nistelrooy had kicked the ball out of his feet in a very unkind way. The meaning of the king of the small penalty area was very clear. Buddy will not play with you. And at this moment, Juan Mata rushed up. Van Nistelrooy's force was very light, and the ball rolled very slowly. For Mata, this was exactly what the little boy wanted. More than 30 meters away from the Bats goal, Mata did not say a word and directly kicked the ball and hit the goal with great force, because the head coach Tongfan told him very clearly before the game that he should shoot as soon as he had a chance during the game. Bang! The football drew a straight white trajectory in the air, like the cold light of a knight's sword. This time, the head of the Bats, Luis Mora, did not even have time to put his fists together, and the football had already whizzed into the net from his ears. So fast! 1:1. In the 18th minute of the game, Real Madrid equalized the score. The goal was scored by Juan Mata, who was not optimistic about the game before the game. The ugly duckling song of Valencia fans was still ringing sparsely, but the protagonist of the story seemed to have turned into a swan. After scoring the goal, Mata waved his hand to signal his teammates not to come up first, and he ran all the way to the front of the team's bench. There, Tongfan, who jumped up happily, had no time to say congratulations or come on to the little guy before he was pushed to the ground by Mata with the momentum of running. The fat alien Ronaldo, who ran over, saw this scene, suddenly smiled maliciously, then shouted and jumped on Mata, with Ronaldo as an example. Marcelo, Ramos, Guti, Gianluca and others rushed up one by one like dumplings. In the camera, the only leg of Tongfan that was exposed outside the mountain of people was twitching violently. Go in. The ball went in. Juan Mata, the rising star that Tongfan promoted from Castilla against all odds, finally repaid the head coach's trust with a goal. This ball was so powerful that I can't believe it was kicked by an 18-year-old player. The players of Real Madrid and their head coach began to stack up. It seems that this young head coach has won the support of all the players. This is really a touching scene. Such scenes were rarely seen in Real Madrid before. When the referee blew the whistle for the restart, Tongfan, who was helped to the chair by Greed, was still shaking his legs. 7 or 8 players, more than 600 kilograms, pressed on him. If the grass under him was not soft, Leoli would have been sent to the hospital for emergency treatment because of broken bones. Damn, who took the lead just now? Leoli thought angrily while shaking. Valencia's ultimate skill in La Liga is to rely on continuous attack from the wing. Joaquin and Vicent's wings were once one of the major signs of the Spanish national team. Later, although Vicent was abandoned by the national team due to continuous injuries, and Joaquin gradually became a marginal player of the national team due to unstable state in the club, head coach Flores gave them great trust. In FM 2007, the system gave the two a very high evaluation, which was no less than Robin, Cristiano Ronaldo and others. In addition, David Silva, the new king who emerged last season. From the perspective of wingers alone, Valencia's strength is no worse than Real Madrid with Robinho, Ruiz and others, and since Tongfan took office as the head coach of Real Madrid, the importance of wingers in the 4-1-2-1-2 tactics is also obvious to all. Therefore, in this basically unguarded game, the wonderful performance of the wingers of the two teams made all the audience excited. The game was getting more and more exciting. Joaquin, Vicent, Ruiz and others were all fast and skilled. They were as fast as drinking water when passing people. When the tactical requirements allowed, several people competed to show off their footwork. In the 44th minute of the game, the power of the winger was fully exerted. Real Madrid overtook the score. The goal was scored by the alien fat man Ronaldo, and the assist was made by Juan Mata, who had just scored a goal. Beckham saw through the passing intention of the bad midfielder Albelda. After intercepting the ball, he quickly passed the ball to the Golden Wolf Guti. Guti observed the running position of his teammates in advance before receiving the ball. After receiving the ball, he immediately showed the world's best skill of 50 meters close to the ground and passed the ball to the right side of the court. There, Juan Mata, who had just finished the crossover with Realize, rumbled like a small tank and went straight into the left rib of the Bat army. The Bats defender Moretti, who was already scared by Mata, immediately rushed to grab the ball. Unfortunately, at this moment, Mata's unpredictable ability to dribble began to show. Before touching the ball, the little guy running at high speed made Moretti lose his balance with a few simple changes of direction. He watched the football roll past him less than 10 centimeters away. When he just adjusted his body and started to turn around, Mata had already rushed past him. Incredible dribble action, Da Silva Crogis exclaimed. Such a magician-like performance reminds me of Brazilian Ronaldinho. Real Madrid coach Tongfan discovered a genius. Congratulations to him. In the confrontation with the media, he won again. After Moretti was easily dribbled past by Mata, the bad central defender Albiol, who scored the goal just now, quickly filled in and rushed over with long legs. At this moment, Mata showed his ability to change direction, which was not inferior to Messi. The little boy who was running fast suddenly caught the ball in his football and stopped instantly. Albiol, who rushed over, did not break and slipped past Mata, thanks to Mossing, Giandan. I'm crazy, so I think FDFFS and Shenmue Summoner for their awards. Chapter 88, Applauding the Enemy. After leading Moretti and Albiol away, two people in black uniforms were already standing in Valencia's penalty area, Ronaldo and Van Nistelrooy. Next to them, there was only one player from the Bats wearing the home white uniform, David Navarro. For poor David Navarro, neither the king of the small penalty area nor the alien fat man could afford to offend him. He could only do his best and leave it to fate. After observing the positions of the two veterans, Mata immediately made a fake move of raising his foot to cross the ball. After dribbling Albiol away, Van Nistelrooy understood and pulled Navarro to the front corner of the goal, while Ronaldo took a few steps back slyly. It worked. The gap had been opened, and Mata knocked the ball back in an inverted triangle razor-like manner, and the football was comfortably delivered to Ronaldo's feet. For Ronaldo, what he needed to do next was simple: a light push with the arch of his foot, a goal, and then enjoying the applause and cheers of the fans! 1:2! Real Madrid overtook the score. After scoring the goal, Ronaldo excitedly picked up Mata, who assisted him, and celebrated with his teammates. In the coaching booth of the Bats, Flor's mouth was as wide open as a colander. How is this possible? Juan Mata, who was useless a few days ago, suddenly soared to the sky, as if he had been enlightened. Flores felt that his luck was too bad. The child who dared to tell the truth had not yet told the truth, but was slapped hard by the emperor, who had already put on clothes. This time it was Tongfan's turn to wave his fist at the coaching booth of the Bats to protest. Flores couldn't keep himself calm, and his face suddenly became extremely dark. He rushed to the sidelines and roared at the 11 Bats under his command. The players of Valencia were a little confused. They have been working hard so far, but the little guy who was considered a weak point by everyone in the Real Madrid 11 suddenly became very successful, and all the arrangements made by the head coach before the game were now completely useless. Stealing a chicken, but losing a rice. This is the best portrayal of Valencia head coach Flores now. The next game was completely on the track of Real Madrid. The tactical changes and substitutions made by Flores during the halftime break did not save the Bats' decline. The defeat was like a landslide. In the 67th minute, Juan Mata, who had already locked in the best player of the game, made a comeback, breaking through Joaquin, Agangalo and Moretti in succession, and again made a low pass to assist Ronaldo to score. The score on the field was 1:3! After Ronaldo scored. Lee Tongfan replaced the outstanding but physically exhausted Golden Wolf Guti with Croatian forward Modric, and replaced the popular Beckham with the Argentine little boy Fernando Gago. Now that the overall situation has been decided, we should give young players more opportunities to play. Only in this way can we maintain healthy competition and maintain the stability of the locker room. In the 75th minute, Real Madrid played a wonderful match in the front court. Little Gago, who came on as a substitute for less than 10 minutes, made a long pass to Real. Real cut in the middle with the ball. After attracting 3 defenders of the Bats, he passed the ball to the unguarded Mata. This time, Mata took care of another striker Van Nistelrooy. The king of the small penalty area headed the ball into the goal. The score on the field was 1-4. The Bats were completely powerless. The Valencia players, who had not won a game in the league, vowed to the club fans before the game that they must win the game quickly, and the head coach Flores spent a lot of time asking them to use Juan Mata's weakness to defeat the arrogant Madrid people in one fell swoop. In the first 7 minutes after the game started, everything was indeed moving in a favorable direction for Valencia. Casillas' mistake allowed Albiol to seize the opportunity to score a goal. The Bats fans originally thought that the team would win the game after a dream start, but who knew that the dwarf they laughed at for most of the game would mess everything up. The unbalanced Valencia fans began to boo the team they supported. Countless lighters and fruit cores and confetti rained down on Flores in the coaching seat, and the call for Flores to be fired resounded throughout the Mestalla Stadium. This scene made Lee Tongfan sigh. If there was a problem with his team's performance that day, I'm afraid he would be criticized more fiercely by the picky Real Madrid fans, right? No wonder everyone says that football coaching is the most life-threatening industry. Turn your hand over, and you will be a hero. Turn your hand over, and you will be a bear. The defection of Valencia fans at the last minute caused the players of the Bats to gradually focus on things other than the game. Juan Mata, who changed the trend of the game by himself, became the focus of attention. The little guy was repeatedly fouled by the opponent. In the last 10 minutes of the game, the field had obviously turned into a full-scale fight. The referee's whistle was like a diabetic patient, beeping again and again, but it obviously lost its deterrent effect on the Valencia players. Finally, in the 85th minute, Albelda, who tackled Fernando Gago from behind, received his second yellow Sapphire God of War card of the game, and went back to the locker room to take a shower and sleep. Gold medal Da Silva Croges couldn't help but sigh. Valencia's performance is not worthy of the title of a giant. Their performance this season makes it hard to believe that they were the league champions 2 years ago. Benitez's successor did not show the ability and courage of his predecessor. Maybe the club's chairman should consider Flores' successor. For the Bats, this is really a game that loses both the ball and the people. In order to protect Mata, who became the first bird to stand out, Lee Tongfan replaced him with Higuain in the 89th minute of the game. When Mata left the court, the Valencia fans who had been booing couldn't help but applaud. The 18-year-old was not scared by the ridicule and abuse. In the past 8 minutes, he scored a goal to tie the score for Real Madrid and performed an assist hat-trick. Such data is a report card that only a superstar can hand in. Even the enemy was impressed by his wonderful performance. I had a fever that kept me awake, so I had to get up early to write. My thoughts were a bit messy because of the fever, so I'll let Xiodeo sort them out. So the third update will be around 8 o'clock. I'll have to get on forth in the afternoon. Thank you to my book friends 09081417500204. Zujia Long Sheo, The Call of the Other Side, The Most Civilized Pirate, Etro, Shifen Wu Diziang and Fenglin Yuan for their awards. I bow to express my gratitude. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 89. Who jumped on you first? Sorry, this chapter is late. When I went for infusion in the afternoon, I met a trainee nurse named Millimeters. She couldn't find the blood vessel, so she pricked her with a knife countless times. After 3 or 4 hours of work, her arm was pricked into honeycomb. After Juan Mata left the field in a high-profile manner, the game quickly entered injury time as the resentful bats killed a lot of time with continuous fouls. The referee Fernando Whitens gave 6 minutes of stoppage time. Maybe they were awakened by the applause given to Mata by the fans. Maybe they were shocked by the roaring head coach Flores standing on the sidelines with messy hair. Maybe it was the awakening of self-esteem as a professional player. Valencia's bats finally gave up. In order to kill each other, they launched several threatening attacks in the last 6 minutes. In the 3rd minute of stoppage time, Valencia forward Villa finally made up for his mistake of wasting many consecutive opportunities. After receiving a pass from teammate Silva, he started to show his skills, and dribbling from near the center circle. With a super statistical ability of 18, he successively broke through Redondo's second Gago, Marcelo and the bald man Canavero, who pressed too hard and used his shoulders to resist Joel near the penalty spot. Luca, a powerful volley broke through Casillas' 10 fingers ! 2:4! Valencia gets a point back, although half of the Valencia fans in the stands had already left the game early. Villa's wonderful long distance run still won the hearts of many people, and sparse applause began to ring out in the stands again. 6 minutes later, the referee's whistle blew 2 short, 1 long, and 3 times. The highlight of the 6th round of La Liga, which Tongfan had planned for a long time and Juan Mata became famous as he wished, was finally over. Regardless of the score, this aggressive offensive battle still made all the fans watching the game addicted. The broadcast camera focused on the 2 focal figures of this game, Tongfan and Juan Mata. Before the game, Tongfan made a high-profile announcement to renew the contract with Juan Mata, whose performance in the first 2 games was a disaster, and under great pressure insisted on including the little guy in the starting lineup for this La Liga focus game, which made countless people feel that the 22-year-old young head coach must be crazy. You must know that even Messi, the most popular young star today, sat on Barcelona's bench for at least half a season before becoming famous at the age of 19. And before that, Argentina's golden boy broke all the goals scored by Barcelona's second-tier team record. Already famous, but who is Juan Mata, except for a handful of die-hard Real Madrid fans who knew about the little guy before he made his debut for Real Madrid against Real Betis. Except for those crazy enemies who keep belittling and ridiculing, everyone wants to know what kind of unique ability this 18-year-old kid has that allows Tongfan, the most popular young coach in European football, to risk his reputation and ruin his reputation support. And now, everyone understands. 1 goal and 3 assists, a magician-like sharp dribbling ability, accurate and seasoned crossing control, and a powerful shot that is not inferior to the king of heavy artillery Robert Carlos in football. This is Juan Mata's capital. Destroy all doubts. Capital that repays the coach's trust. After the game, reporters swarmed up and surrounded Juan Mata. Countless microphones rushed over, and the white flash bulbs flashed non-stop. The 18-year-old Mata finally used his strength brought him to the moment of becoming a star. But such a terrifying posture still made it a bit difficult for the little guy to resist. Congratulations, Mr. Mata, for winning the game, and being named the best player of the game. May I ask, before this poor reporter had time to say what he wanted to ask, he was unceremoniously squeezed out by his colleagues, who were watching him with eager eyes. Instead, there are even more crazy questions. The magical pass in the 44th minute of the game was amazing. How did you do it? That bastard squeezed me. Ahem. I want to ask a personal question. Do you have a girlfriend? Your outstanding personal abilities have been fully demonstrated, but Robinho, the team's main left winger, is about to return from injury. How is your relationship with him? What do you think of Mr. Rice Tong? Juan Mata is a pink contender newcomer. Although he had imagined many times before that one day he would become famous after 1 goal and enjoy reporters asking questions, but when this moment really came, the little guy was a little dazed. After half a day, Mata, who had entered the state a little, answered reporters' questions one by one. Unfortunately, as a rookie who has just debuted, Mata really lacks experience in dealing with reporters. The more kind the little guy is, the less kind the reporters who ask questions become. He will not refuse people, and the reporters are not like to easily let go of this young man who became famous with one goal, so everything becomes endless. Until an unsatisfied voice sounded from the periphery of the crowd. When are you going to ask this? Mr. Matter hasn't even had time to return to the locker room, to take a shower and change clothes. If he catches a cold, then you don't want to interview him in the future. To my players, the reporters and Little Matter all turned around to look, and Lee Tongfan with a black face stood beside him. It's time to end the interview, ladies and gentlemen. Although the Spanish football reporters have only been dealing with Lee Tongfan for less than 3 months, the image of Leoli as arrogant and unreasonable in the face of the media has long been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Therefore, as soon as Lee Tongfan showed up, the reporters knew that the interview was really over. Got it? With this man here, no one can expect to pry out any big bombshell from the mouth of Matter, a newbie, so he muttered and dispersed, leaving only Juan Matter and Lee Tongfan standing there. Well done, Matter was a little excited. Thank you, boss. Don't thank me. If you don't have 3 ounces of meat yourself, even if I give you a fattening drug, it will be useless. By the way, I have something to ask you. You have to answer it honestly. At this point, Lee Tongfan's face suddenly changed. Very serious. When we were celebrating after the first goal, who was the first to jump on you? Leo. Lee is indeed a person who holds grudges. After the game, he still remembered the accident in which he was almost crushed to death by the players. Matter was stunned and thought about it carefully. It seemed that before the first person jumped up, he heard a strange scream from Ronaldo, so the little guy honestly sold the fat alien. Sure enough, it was him. Leoli's hateful eyes swept through the crowd and finally found Ronaldo, who was being interviewed by reporters in the distance with a coquettish face. Fatty, you are miserable. Ronaldo in the distance suddenly felt cold for no reason. A master appeared again in the book review area. I was shocked to see Guo Xiaodao was also horrified to find that Guo came once on July 5th and left a miracle. I didn't notice it and didn't even add the essence. I was so scared. Panic. Thanks to King Mizo Jiu, Lonely Paradise, Shadow Shao, Huang Kesing, and Soul Universe for their generous rewards. Chapter 90 Update and Adjustment Notes. In view of the problem that many readers mention that there are too many chapters and too few words, Xiaodao has carefully considered and decided to adjust the update of this book. The daily update of 6,000 words will be held at 9 PM. To be honest, I didn't know that chapters could be updated before. It was completely unintentional. Maybe more chapters can really increase clicks, but to use a word, that's all floating clouds. The performance of this book is quite good, and it should be put on the shelves. Book friends are all old friends. It's meaningless for Xiaodao to focus on clicks. I hope everyone can give some recommendations, subscriptions, rewards, etc. at that time. That's all. The update tonight is at 9 o'clock. The fever is better now. Thank you for your concern. I wish you all a happy reading. Chapter 91 I have a question for you. There are 2 Champions League matches and 3 La Liga matches, and the opponents are not strong. The 2 key battles are the 3rd round of the UEFA Champions League group stage on October 18th, away to the Ukrainian giant Shakhtar Donetsk, and the away to the Yellow Submarine Villarreal on October 28th. The first and second place in the League King Mountain Battle 18 and 28. For Leoli, a traditional Chinese, are extremely auspicious numbers. The earliest league match will not be played until October 15th, away to the newly promoted Tarragona Gymnastic, that is to say, the first 15 days of October, for Real Madrid, can be described in one word, that is, Stalingrad without war. Therefore, just as the front leg entered October, Lee Tongfan gave the Hammers of the first team 3 days of ecstasy and girl chasing. Vacation as a compensation for the intensive battles in September, relaxation and tension are the way of civil and military affairs. However, for Leoli, the Hammers of the first team can run, but he, the head, cannot run. Because there are still some things about the little boy that need to be handled by the head coach himself. First of all, the matter of the Mexican little boy Carlos Vela finally has some clues. Francisco Jimenez, the weird uncle sent by Leoli to seduce the little boy, quickly reported back that Villa himself has agreed to join Real Madrid, and Arsenal Professor Wenger adheres to the consistent policy of selling no one, as long as there is enough money, and also agreed to Real Madrid's offer of £500. The specific operation of this matter has to be handed over to Mijatovic, the transfer manager, among the other little demons that Leoli liked. Although Brazilian small forward Pato cannot transfer for the time being, the little guy's now showing his edge, attracting a group of supergiants to wait for the Brazilian Football Association's ban to be invalidated and immediately pull up a mountain to start park. So we have to prepare for the rainy day. So Leoli sent the weird uncle Francisco Jimenez, who had just successfully completed the task of seducing Carlos Villa, to Brazil for vacation again. The alien fat man was also very reluctant to accompany him. Leoli's wishful thinking was realized. With the huge appeal of the fat man in Brazil, it should be no problem to kidnap a child, right? Next is Giovanni dos Santos, the Mexican prodigy known as Ronaldinho II. Whether in terms of football skills or appearance, he is a cartoon version of Ronaldinho. Leoli suspected that, if the age difference between the two was a little bigger, even if Dos Santos was said to be Ronaldinho's illegitimate child, at least 11 out of 10 people would believe it. However, this young man has a strong personality. He will not marry, unless he is with Barcelona. He vows to walk the path of Ronaldinho, the World Footballer of the Year, in Camp Nou. As a result, several weird uncles sent by Leoli to pry into the corner of Barcelona's socialism and fleece Barcelona's socialism were all frustrated. The little demon is right in front of him, but he can't eat it. How can Leoli, who is obsessed with Shota, be willing? The demons who came out of the La Masia training camp are indeed lovers who don't forget to dig people up when they eat water. Leoli can only wish the Mexican Ronaldinho good luck. After dealing with the affairs of the Shota, it's Leoli's turn point after careful consideration during this period of time and consulting many industry experts. Tongfan decided to take out his hard-earned salary and register a small brokerage company in the name of his younger brother. He would first recruit a few local native employees who knew the inside story to support the company. After his younger brother graduated from college, he would be sent to the money-grabbing tutoring crash course opened by FIFA to get some experience and become familiar with the company. He would probably be qualified to go to Spain to be a leader. After all, with a crazy brother like Leoli as a backer, it is still easy to get a share of the brokerage circle that eats people without spitting out bones. You should know that many brokers do not open for 3 years, and they can make a living for 3 years after opening. As long as they are lucky enough to catch a superstar, the income they earn is enough for these 10% gentlemen to live a stable life for a long time. And for Tongfan, who has scout tools and is the head coach of a wealthy club, is it difficult to provide a few promising stars for his younger brother's agency? The so-called father and son soldiers in battle, brothers fighting tigers together means this. However, this idea is not invented by Leoli himself. There are countless similar examples in the Premier League. Among the 7 famous father-son pairs listed by the media, son Mark Allardyce and father Sam Allardyce, son Mark Redknapp and father Harry Redknapp are all representative figures. Of course, the most famous is Manchester United godfather Ferguson and son Jason Ferguson. The father and son have done a lot of big business together, such as trafficking goalkeeper Matthew Morby, who is known as the biggest parallel import of Manchester United, Dutch Verlaine Stam, and Three Lions defensive backbone Rio Ferdinand. They are all examples of keeping the money within the family. It's just right to take advantage of the free time during the golden holiday of National Day in China. First take the younger brother over to take a look and explore his ideas by the way. If he is willing to do it, then start to implement it immediately. If it's delayed for a little longer, Juan Mata, who has been positioned as the first client of the agency by Leoli, will probably be divided up by others and there will be nothing left. Speed is of the essence in war. As for the messy things about my brother's visa to Spain, I handed it over to Mr. Calderon's personal female translator, the blonde girl Alex. Leoli is now in favor, so he can still sell this face. After finishing these preparations, there is only 1 day left in the 3-day holiday. However, even on the last day, Leoli cannot steal a half day of leisure because Uncle Calderon has arranged a TV talk show with extremely high ratings in Spain for him. I have a question for you. On October 3rd, the news that Real Madrid's new coach Tongfan will participate in a TV show for the first time and accept the invitation of the I have a question for you column team of the Spanish national television sports channel was released 3 or 4 days ago. The hotline of the column team has been almost blown up in the past few days. Countless fans want to get a chance to talk to their idols, ask the questions they want to know most in their hearts, and get answers. I don't know what happened. This chapter is the most difficult time I encountered in typing, like constipation and can't hold it in. Maybe I met too many great gods today, and I'm upset. It took a lot of time to communicate with the great gods, and now I'm coding even slower. Xiodeo doesn't want to miss the opportunity to communicate with the great god so closely. I couldn't even think about it before. Gradually, the clock points to 12 o'clock. To apologize, I will add 1000 words tomorrow. Thanks to FDFFSFDFD, Sansheng Bridge, Got, and Demon Summoner, Add a Death Squad, DH Sleeping Lion Dream Awakening, Zixi 1013, Feng Fei Kanjian, Long Shao Lines, Shanshu 1980, Jiandan, Ghost Soldier, Chiangsha Wangxing. By Anna Feng. It's good to read books when bored, and Bloodthirsty Maniac for their awards. I vote a thank you. Chapter 90 to Li Tongfan and -039. Handsomeness is not obvious. I have a question for you is a very unique interview program launched by the Spanish national television sports channel. Since the program was first launched in 1990, a total of 192 issues have been released in 16 years. The interviewees in each issue are the most influential sports figures in the world for a period of time. The subjects interviewed are not limited to the field of football, including car king Schumacher, tennis king Federer, American football superstar Tar Heel, Spanish national team coach Aragones, and the Dutch Black Swan Rijka who led Barcelona to the UEFA Champions League last year. D and others have all accepted the invitation for this show. The 192 episodes of the program represent 192 influential figures who are leading the trend, and Li Tongfan, who is about to become the 193rd person to enter the Hall of Fame of the I Have a Question for You column, is able to win the favor of the column team. In addition to the mediation of the club chairman, Uncle Calderon, who is passionate about fame and fortune, it is mainly due to the royal family. Madrid's fantastic performance in the past September and the increasingly fierce controversy surrounding Crazy Lee. Those who love him worship him like a god, while those who hate him want to squat in the corner and draw circles and curses every day. The madman was sent to 19 levels of hell. To some extent, controversy creates legends more than anything else in the world. Such is the charm of contradiction. After Leoli accepted the column's invitation this time, he immediately created 3 new records for the column. The youngest interviewee, the first interviewee from Asia, and the first yellow-skinned interviewee. The column I Have a Question for You is 60 minutes long, and the content is flexible and changeable, and each issue is different. The 193rd issue that Li Tongfan will participate in on October 3rd has also been carefully arranged. If it can be summarized in 4 words, it is fashion and democracy. At the opening stage of the show, the 10 most popular fashion models in Spain will be invited to perform a 20-minute fashion show. Of course, this is no ordinary performance. As a guest, Li Tongfan needs to coordinate with every young and tender girl. Models walk on the catwalk and show off their coquettishness. This is the so-called fashion part. For the next 40 minutes, Li Tongfan had to face questions from the 60 audience members alone. These 60 viewers are not ordinary people. They are senior fans carefully selected by the column team from fans of 20 Spanish First Division teams half a month in advance to ensure that they can represent the broadest voice of Spanish fans. All in all, the whole process of the program has a 3 balls, but no job attitude, which is extremely difficult. For Crazy Lee, the criticism from more than 60 fans is not terrible. What is terrible is the 10 delicate and ecstatic models. Yaodeo is the most difficult to accept the kindness of beauties. Is it really necessary for him to be a wealthy man? The Taishui plus a 22-year-old innocent virgin and the white bone spirit walked on the catwalk together. twisting their butts, swaying their waists, blowing kisses and flirting. It made him more uncomfortable than killing Leoli. Unfortunately, the reality is that Calderon, the chairman who only wants to gain fame and fortune for the club and himself, has issued a death order. And the promotional notices on Spanish national television have been released long ago. Leoli's pot of raw rice has been jointly cooked by others. It's become cooked food. What can I do? Let's go. The 26-year-old Elizabeth Carrerina is the leading actress of the Spanish national television sports channel. After becoming the gold medal host of the I Have a Question for You column 3 years ago, she has been broadcasting almost every year and every month. Talk to all kinds of successful men in the hall, and share with them the joy of success and the confusion of failure. In the past, she has interviewed Olympic champions, sports superstars, modest people, gloomy hypocrites, elegant and rational white-haired old men, and famous teenagers who have not lost their childishness. And today, she has to face the most popular young coach in Spanish football recently, Real Madrid coach Tongfan, as an excellent program host, before formally contacting the interviewee. Elizabeth is used to collecting all the information about the guest and carefully analyzing his personality and preferences. In this way, he can take the initiative during the program and use some tricks to get closer to him. The distance between the guests can win their favor and adjust the atmosphere so that you can ask some sensitive questions that the audience wants to hear rather than just talk in plain water. But now, looking at the thick pile of personal information about Tongfan in front of her, Elizabeth sighed. The young coach of Real Madrid was obviously the strangest person she had ever seen, even though she had already flipped through the pile of information. I have read it no less than 10 times, and I am so familiar with it that I can almost take the level 6 exam with information about Crazy Lee, but I still have an elusive feeling about this young man who is called Crazy Lee by his peers. Judging from the data, before joining Real Madrid, Tongfan was almost the same as the most ordinary young man on the streets of Madrid. He was fired after working for 2 years. And his parents were even farmers in remote villages. Such people are in the eyes of Elizabeth, a professional journalist. Here, he will always be a worthless one, ordinary, or to put it more harshly, vulgar and incompetent. But such a vulgar and incompetent guy has transformed himself into a royal in just 3 months. The coach of Madrid is loved by thousands of fans, and will enter the studio of I Have a Question for You to accept his compliments and interviews. If he is just a lucky guy who got lucky, how can we explain the magical night at the Nou Camp in the El Clasico and Real Madrid's 9-game victory in September? How to explain the sudden emergence of Juan Mata and Croatian twin stars? If he is a well-hidden master of the world, where did he get the skills to become a master at only 22 years old? Is it true, as his peers say, that he is really the illegitimate son of God left in the East, a mysterious man? Elizabeth Carrerina is becoming more and more interested in this man. At 14:30 in the afternoon, there was still half an hour before the start of the show. Tongfan, who came to the scene alone, was completely reduced to a puppet. The stylists and makeup artists took turns and began to ravage Leoli. After 20 minutes, Leoli himself, when I looked in the mirror, I was shocked. Who is this handsome guy in the mirror? Difficult. Could it really be me? Leoli looked behind him and didn't find anyone standing behind him. He suddenly felt happy. He didn't expect that he had never been so brilliant during the flowering and rainy seasons of 18 and 19. After joining the Benson clan, he was actually handsome by labor and management. No wonder people say that a man is matched with clothes, a horse is matched with a saddle, and a dog is matched with a bell and runs happily. The effect of the makeup was very obvious. In less than a minute, a blonde beauty who said autumn water is like a divine hibiscus bone, swaying and charming, slowly walked towards me and kept secretly sending autumn flowers as she walked. Spinach. Old Leedale. No wonder everyone in the Zuan family, called Beastgate, said that society has entered the era of male lust. He had just been handsome for less than a minute when a sexy beauty came up to chat with him. Who knows if the beauty's next words made Tongfan bite off his tongue. Hi, Lee. Hello. The beauty stretched out her white little hand. I'm Elizabeth Carrerina, and I'm going to interview your program supporter soon. I see. Tongfan was greatly disappointed. It seemed that he was still handsome. He squeezed the little hand handed over by the beauty and said, "Hello, Miss Elizabeth. Nice to meet you, Elizabeth." Looked at Leoli with interest. This man who she couldn't figure out didn't seem to be as unruly as his colleagues described him. On the contrary, he was a little bit cute. "You can call me Lina." Elizabeth smiled at Leoli. "You speak Spanish so fluently, Leo." Lee began to shamelessly lie. "If you want to be an excellent coach, language is your first weapon." Elizabeth clapped her hands and praised, suddenly remembered something, and couldn't help but remind Leoli there may be some problems during the fans question session. "You know, 15 of the 60 fans are Catalan. You know the nicknames the media gave me. I think they're the ones to worry about." While Lee Tongfan answered confidently, he cursed in his heart. "If something really happens, wouldn't it be exactly what you expected? It's all your fault. Why are you still here crying like a cat?" The beauty is so clear, and when I see that everyone is understanding, I immediately let go of my worries. As long as Madman Lee doesn't make a scene in the studio or walk away, then everything will be fine. After a few words of conversation, a staff member came over to ask Elizabeth to leave. She was probably going to a Macu rehearsal. 1500 hours. The show officially starts. Due to Leoli's strong request, the T-Stage show changed its format. Lee Tongfan sat on the vine high chair at the front of the catwalk and posed while 10 young models professionally began to show the autumn clothing works of a young fashion designer to the audience's cameras. The warm-toned lighting in the studio hall was a bit dim. Lee Tongfan, wearing a tight-fitting suit prepared by the staff, was sitting in the bright light at the front of the catwalk, like a shining statue. After each model came over, they would cling to Leoli on the high chair of Kukan and constantly change their positions. The autumn clothing of young designers adopts a bold and avant-garde style. In other words, in the words of a Chinese rural lady, it is indecent to wear clothes that are not covering the body and are in tatters. Of course, Leoli has no control over whether it's offensive or not, but can these pink and tender little girls put their poses next to our house without having to wear any clothes? First update. It was so difficult to write 3 chapters into one. I coded 7,000 words at once, and I was shocked that I lost all my inspiration and ideas. The coding is all done, so think about it and develop them separately. Chapter 93. The beauty stuffed a small note with dissatisfaction and interest. When 3 out of 10 models were gone, Leoli discovered that these chicks were completely trying to take advantage of them. Wipe yourself off. The lazy and in hall, a bright light like a fairy, the beauty is like jade, and the breath is like orchid. Is this even a fucking sports talk show? Didn't that sinister flaws designer trap to play on himself? Just when Lee Tongfan was about to stand up and get out of his embarrassing situation, saying uncle can't bear it, aunt can't bear it, the 5th beauty who came over took advantage of the opportunity to pose and stuffed a small piece of paper into the palm of old Lee's hand. Leoli's first reaction was to throw it away, but now he was covered in strong light. Not only was his every move clearly seen by the more than 60 fans with ulterior motives at the scene, but also by the countless gossipy eyes behind the camera lens. Chew. As long as it spreads, it will be Kaiguogo's scandal. I wonder how many people will laugh out loud. Aren't the hammers in the first team smiling obscenely to death? Bear it, rubbing it with sweaty palms. Leoli quickly stuffed the paper ball into his pocket, while the model blocked the light. Damn it, this girl is not professional at stuffing a note into her skin. Why did she choose such hard paper? It hurts my hands. In the darkness under the catwalk, Elizabeth observed Lee Tongfan with great interest. She wanted to know what kind of person this man she couldn't see clearly was. The glamorous formation of guests and models performing catwalk shows has been used many times in previous programs. Some of the successful men who participated were wild, some were calm, some enjoyed it, and some were disdainful, but there has never been anyone like Lee Tongfan. Sitting stiffly on the chair, his face turned red, as if he were sitting on the toilet holding a stool. Cautious, interesting man. After 20 minutes, the lights were restored, and the models retreated backstage amidst applause. Leoli carefully moved his numb buttocks, which had been sitting motionless for 20 minutes, back to the soft sofa, and chatted with Elizabeth for a few moments, livening up the atmosphere in the room, and starting the next stage of the interview. It's officially started. After the red and pink skull formation just now, the fans Q/U0026A was definitely a piece of cake for Leoli, who came out of the hail of bullets. When it comes to making things difficult, no matter how powerful, professional or experienced a fan's questions are, they can never be as vicious as a third-rate football reporter's mouth. This is not a question of ability, but a question of mentality. Among the 60 fans, 18 Real Madrid fans swarmed up to ask for Lee Tongfan's autograph before the official recording began. Even fans of some other teams were not far behind. Male fans like to talk about their ambitions, while female fans are more concerned about Crazy Lee's personal problems. During the 40 minutes, all kinds of strange questions are common. When facing the fans, Leoli naturally does not need to show the fierce face when facing media reporters, but very patiently answers the fans' questions one by one, such as how many people are there in the family, how many acres of land per capita, how many cows in the field, gossip questions such as have you ever been married to someone else? Do you have a secret crush? What kind of woman do you love most? Can you accept Spanish and other European women? Coupled with the constant mediation of Elizabeth Calarina, the leading actress of the Spanish national television, the interview achieved results beyond everyone's expectations. The fans did not expect that the son of a bitch who dared to call the media would spend all day in the interview. Madman Lee, who denounced flaws, Nicolas Cage and other celebrities as shameless people in Marca's column specialized in treating dissatisfaction, turned out not to be an arrogant madman. He was also kind, funny, and the approachable side. At the end of the interview, the topic naturally returned to Real Madrid. Elizabeth asked the fans watching the show on the spot and in front of the TV the question they wanted most: who do you think will be the league champion this year? Perhaps it was Leoli's gentle performance that made people forget what kind of person was sitting in front of them. Everyone thought that Lee Tongfan would be vague and modest, saying something like the best and the team will win the championship. Every team in the league has a chance and other scenes, but Madman Lee raised his eyebrows and drew his sword instantly, showing his crazy nature. Without a doubt, Real Madrid suck. There was a gasp of air conditioning at the scene. The league had just started 7 rounds of discussions, and they dared to use no doubt to determine the league champion. Sure enough, Crazy Lee. This is Crazy Lee. Someone on the field stupidly asked again, what about the Champions League champion? Without a doubt, Real Madrid. Elizabeth Calarina, who was used to seeing big winds and waves, was also a little dazed. She found that the man in front of her, who was originally a bit amiable and cunning, suddenly showed a kind of domineering confidence when he talked about the work of the team. Is that why he's successful? 18 Real Madrid fans took the lead in whistling and applauding. The 1-hour recording time for the I Have a Question For You column ended quickly. Before the final break, everyone stood together for a group photo. Lee Tongfan and Elizabeth Calarina were surrounded by 60 fans, smiling like flowers! The program will be broadcast during prime time in the evening after post-production. All participants in the recording can get an original and unabridged copy as a souvenir after the show. To Lee Tongfan's surprise, the beautiful host Elizabeth took the initiative to invite Leoli to find a place to chat about life. However, considering that there were still many troubles to do tomorrow and the playing hard to get skill of picking up girls, Lee Tongfan resolutely left the beautiful woman's phone number and took a taxi. Elizabeth Calarina stood on the steps of the ground floor of the Spanish national television building, watching the yellow taxi that Lee Tongfan was riding gradually disappear in the rolling traffic, and found that she could not see through this man more and more. Curiosity was like a kitten that kept scratching the door sill, making this proud blonde beauty unable to stop. On the way back to the villa, Leoli took out the small note that had been crumpled into a ball from his pocket. When he unfolded it, no wonder it was so hard. It was not a note at all. It turned out to be a delicate little photo. A small chestnut-haired beauty with a chubby face smiled at Leoli on it, and she was so youthful. The hostess's name and mobile phone number were written in Spanish on the back of the photo. Unfortunately, the photo had been crumpled up by Leoli, and the handwriting on it had turned into a big black mass. It could be roughly recognized that the girl's name was Isabelina, and as for the phone number, There were only 3 zeros left. It seems that I have no luck with love. This is God's will. Leoli laughed and threw the photo in his hand out of the taxi window. When he returned to the villa, it was still early. Lee Tongfan randomly took out some food from the refrigerator and went into the bedroom to open FM 2007. Since the team will start training tomorrow, Leoli has to check the physical condition and fighting spirit of each hammer from the system first, so as to prescribe medicine according to the prescription during training. What Lee Tongfan didn't expect was that, probably because there were no games recently and the game had not been run for several days, the FM 2007 system reacted very coquettishly this time. Less than 0.01 seconds after the save was read, prompt boxes jumped out one after another like an unsatisfied slut. Ding. Dong. 1 week of game time has passed. The system automatically deducts 2 points of character points. Ding. Dong. Because you were named the best coach of La Liga in September, the system rewards 5 points of character points. Ding. Dong. Because Real Madrid player Ronaldo was named the best player of September, the system rewards 2 points of character points. Ding. Dong. Because Real Madrid player David Beckham was named the second best player of September, the system rewards 1 point of character points. Ding. Dong. Because Real Madrid player Juan Mata created the best goal of September, the system rewards 2 points of character points. Ding. Dong. Because Real Madrid player Juan Mata was elected the second best young player of the month, the system rewards 1 point of character points. Ding. Dong. Because Real Madrid player Antonio Cassano was dissatisfied with you, the system deducted 5 points of character points. Ding. Dong. The system reminds you that you still have 1.5 points of ability points to be allocated among all the prompts. Leoli was surprised by the caution about Cassano. The Italian was dissatisfied with the head coach. The system can actually deduct 5 points of character points at once. How did this happen? Lee Tongfan casually clicked OK to clear all system prompt boxes and entered the Real Madrid Linux page. Sure enough, he found a small grey box before Cassano's name with 2 words floating on it. Dissatisfaction. Click the word dissatisfied, and the system screen will call up the personal attribute column in Cassano's private information interface, including personal information and personal emotions. Personal information: full name, Antonio Cassano, birthday, July 12, 1982, place of birth, Bari, Italy, language, Italian, Spanish, elementary favorite club, Bari, Real Madrid, people I admire, none, description, a forward with great spirit, personality, stable reputation, nationally renowned, personal emotions, overall satisfaction. Satisfied with being able to continue to stay in the team. Important thoughts. I agree with the team building philosophy of the head coach, but I feel that I should get more opportunities to play short-term plan. I'm considering my choice coach's commitment, non-benign relationship, thinks Sergio Ramos is an excellent player, and is happy that he can play with Ronaldo and David Beckham. It seems that the problem lies in the important thoughts and personal emotions. The bad boy was dissatisfied with the head coach because he did not get a chance to play. Leoli asked himself, his treatment of Cassano was indeed a bit unkind. In 7 league games plus 2 Champions League games, the Italian bad boy did not get even 1 second of the game time in 9 games. Even a clay Buddha has some earthiness, let alone a famous star like Cassano. The Italian bad boy, who is famous for his bad temper, was able to hold back for more than a month before jumping the wall, which is really impressive. This skill is comparable to that of the Ninja Turtles. However, for one dissatisfaction, the system actually deducted 5 points of character points. This not so good signal shocked Leoli and made him sweat. You must know that the dissatisfaction of the head coach of the players' team will not just be because he cannot play the main force. Sometimes, even the players who play the main force every day will be resentful towards the head coach for inexplicable reasons. This means that, if Leoli cannot correctly handle the relationship with his hammer, due to the relationship between them, the few remaining character points will soon be squandered! 5 character points. How many character points does it cost to create a Juan Mata? Antonio Cassano's resentment turned Juan Mata into a grey bird after 2.5 seconds. Thinking of this, Leoli carefully calculated the existing character points like a hen hatching eggs. Fortunately, in the past September, he and his Hammers had a good harvest, sweeping all the major awards lists in La Liga. Earned back a lot of wife money, offset by the character points increased instead of decreasing, from 77 points on September 23rd to 85 points. I finally felt at ease. As for the 1.5 unallocated ability points prompted by the system, they are accumulated from the 1 point obtained after defeating Chelsea and the 0.5 points obtained after defeating Valencia. The usage of ability points is still a mystery, so Leoli always keeps them. With Cassano's lessons learned, Lee Tongfan once again carefully observed the personal emotions options of the major players in Real Madrid's first team. What is reassuring is that the other players who have not been named the main players have not yet become dissatisfied. However, there were small red boxes with the word interest floating in front of the names of Ramos and Salgado. After Lee Tongfan clicked to check, he found that the Blues Chelsea of the Premier League and Real Betis of La Liga were interested in the two Hammers respectively. Interest. There is a detailed description in the transfer sub-item of the two people's private information interface. Ramos is Real Madrid's main force, and there are not many all-around fighters in world football who can play both full-back and central defender at such a high level. Therefore, Chelsea's wishful thinking must not be allowed to succeed! Leoli doesn't know if the appearance of such a small red box means that Chelsea has already been in contact with Ramos, and Ramos' contract renewal must be put on the agenda. A weekly salary of less than €50,000 is indeed not worthy of being the future captain of Real Madrid. As for Salgado, the 30-year-old son-in-law of the former Real Madrid chairman has completely lost his position on the field this season. If Real Betis intends to introduce him, it would be okay to let him leave. Of this chapter is 4,000. The extra 1,000 is compensation for the late update yesterday. Thanks for dismembering dead babies. Famous names. Book Friends 20,100,322. TR7. HHA 3335. What kind of show is Liceo? Sancheng Bridge. And several others for their generous rewards and encouragement. Bowen, thank you. Regarding the update time and word count, Ziodeo is confused. Thank you to the omnipotent god. Chapter 94. Hey, buddy, YOU and -039, having a rough time, right? Let's divide the update into two chapters, one for 3000, one for noon, and one for evening. I'm a newbie trying to figure it out, please forgive me. On October 4th, the Real Madrid superstars returned to Madrid Sports City after a 3-day break and resumed training. Since the holiday has just ended, it is estimated that the Hammers have had a lot of fun and dissipation in the past 3 days, and their performance in training was very sluggish. In a rage, Leoli started to sacrifice the angry universe, and all the physical fitness training was increased. 25,000 a 1,000-meter long march. Looking at the panting Antonio Cassano and the crowd, Lee Tongfan had more than a dozen thoughts in his mind in an instant. Should he list this restless guy directly? Send to the second-tier team to sober up? Block immediately? Or terminate the contract directly? But after thinking about it again, Leoli calmed down the unknown fire in his heart. If you count on your fingers, you are also responsible for this. As the saying goes, you will reap melons if you sow beans, and if you don't have the cause of not letting your young man play in the game in September, there will be no result of the bad boy complaining and getting 5 character points. Therefore, we cannot put all the responsibility on Cassano. They are all like father and mother, whose baby is not a baby. In terms of ability, the Italian bad boy's value in the FM 2007 system is not low. His potential of 180 and current ability of 165 are no worse than the current team's main attacking midfielders Guti and Cruyff's second Modric. How much? In terms of fame, Cassano was known as the Golden Boy when he was in Italy. His early limelight was not inferior to Guti's. As for Modric, who had just debuted, he was thousands of miles away from him. Prince Totti of Rome is so embarrassed, it is estimated that today's bad boy has already become leader in Serie A. Speaking of which, this kid is pitiful enough. It's not good to offend anyone, but he offended the big boss Totti, who stomped his feet and threatened to cause a nationwide earthquake in Italy. He was forced to leave his hometown and come to La Liga to make a living. How could he be so miserable? Due to his previous poor life in China, Li Tongfan, who is now the coach of a wealthy club, always has infinite sympathy for people who are also living in such a poor life. Therefore, when the Croatian duo was questioned, when they first arrived, Li insisted on letting them start in the starting lineup to fight back. When the unknown Juan Mata was laughed at, Li decided to spend his character points to immediately create a brilliant future for him, and now Antonio Cassano, it doesn't hurt to give him a few chances. So in the routine group confrontation in the afternoon, the Hammers of the first team were surprised to find that the Italian, who had not been well received by the coach since the beginning of the season, actually received a yellow training shirt symbolizing the main position for the first time, and he received the same treatment. There is also the 19-year-old De La Red who was mentioned to the first team together with Juan Mata, but had completely opposite fates. This is a signal the main position will also change. The explanation given by Li is high sounding and has only 2 words: rotation. The atmosphere on the training ground became tense and lively. No one wanted to become the third person to be rotated after Guti and Beckham. As for Guti and Beckham, Li Tongfan did not give them a special explanation. As seasoned veterans, Li estimated that the two of them should be able to get the real answer from their constant eyes. Right, Beckham is still the conscientious Beckham, and Guti is no longer the hot-tempered man who throws plates and bowls whenever something goes wrong. The two of them, who work well with the head coach, saw Li Tongfan wink frequently and quickly understood the coach. The true thoughts of the coach. All doubts in my mind disappeared. The game against newly promoted Tarragona on October 15th will be an opportunity to train the team and examine new players. Time passed quickly, and the sun set in the blink of an eye. As soon as the training was over, Li Tongfan couldn't wait to pick up his briefcase and trot back. This is definitely a rare scene. Who in the entire Madrid sports city doesn't know that Li is always the last one to leave the training ground, not going home until dark is the routine of most bachelors like Li Tongfan. As for the team's stars, they all wait for the coach's words. That's it for today's training from every afternoon. Even the workaholic assistant coach Greed, who has always called the club home, will also drive home on time within half an hour after training. Don't waste a second longer, because it is said that there is a hidden lion in Leo's home. Marcelo and Fenielio had just come out of the locker room when they saw Li Tongfan hurriedly exiting the gate of Madrid Sports City. Thinking of the misses they saw in the mall that day, they looked at each other and smiled. Squeezed out a smile that was a little bit vulgar, that any man would understand, laughed lewdly for a while, and walked away with arms around each other. But this time the wretched Hammers really wronged Li. The reason why Li Tongfan left in such a hurry was because, according to the schedule arranged by the blonde girl Alex, the plane he was taking was going to Madrid in the evening. Li had to go quickly to greet this foreign language idiot who has never even passed set 4, lest he be abducted by Spanish traffickers and sent to the red light district to be a duck. Li Tongfan's worries are not without reason, because although his younger brother Li Tongsan is 3 years younger than Li, he is 1.90 meters tall and more handsome than Panan. He is definitely a young woman and a middle-aged and elderly woman. The first choice for buying sex and having fun. I originally planned to go to Spain with my parents for a few days of cooling. Who knew that my father's reply was the fennel in the field has not been harvested yet, so I won't accompany you. Although my mother did not have her father, so stubborn, but the reason given also made Li helpless. Fanfan, you are not young anymore. The dog in the East Village has already raised a grandson. I won't spend money. The money I earn save up, and ask matchmaker Zhang to tell you that Killa, the second daughter of the village chief, should give birth to a fat boy as soon as possible. Li Tongfan vomited blood and retreated. Madrid Airport, 19 hours, 45 minutes and 4 seconds local time. Li Tongfan wrapped himself in Tyrannosaurus sunglasses, Armani windbreaker and Mr. Herida men's wide-brimmed long hat like a black super policeman. He appeared in the passenger passage of the terminal holding a card with his brother's name written on it, jumping up and down. Waiting for my brother to show up. No way. Who made Li a celebrity now? People are as afraid of being famous as pigs are afraid of being strong, especially in Madrid, the home base of Real Madrid. Li Tongfan's appearance is more likely to cause a sensation than the Prime Minister of Spain. Passengers gradually filed out of the exit, but there was no sign of his younger brother Li Tongfan, which made Leoli a little anxious. The longest distance his precious brother had traveled since he was a child was from Yumen beyond the Great Wall to Lanzhou, the provincial capital. Could he really be lost? Leoli's performance fully verified the truth of the ancient Chinese saying, turning oneself aside will lead to chaos. Just when Li Tongfan was anxious, a whirring voice came from the other side of the passage. My mother said that you should be low-key at home and high profile abroad. The values of foreigners are different from ours. Hey, your name. Look, is that wretched man in black your brother? The wretched man in black. Leoli was stunned for a moment, and then he saw a big lump of fat swaying out of the passenger passage, followed by his 1.90-meter-old brother. The two were chatting and laughing again, and the fat man's big fat carrot-like finger was pointing at him. Elder brother, Li Tongfan walked up to Li Tongfan, looked at the cards held in Leoli's hand, carefully identified them, and finally recognized his biological brother. The excitement is palpable. Before Leoli had time to express his excitement about meeting the brothers, the little fat man next to him started to yell again. My mother said, "Oh, this is your brother? Hey, he is dressed up so sneakily. Is there anything he can't see?" People Li Tongfan had a dark face, and he pinched the fat neck of the little fat man who was less than 1.7 meters tall, and explained to his brother, Shangwenzesh, my college roommate, the family is rich, come with me at your own expense. Leo. Son, you pinched my neck again. On the way back, the chubby Shangwenzesh knocked on the back of the taxi seat, looked at Li Tongfan up and down, and said indifferently, brother, you can't even find a cheap second-hand car in Spain? How miserable is it? Come on. My mother said, a woman's taste depends on her boots, and a man's taste depends on his car. Otherwise, you shouldn't hang out in this ungrateful country. For the sake of being the third oldest brother, I will introduce you to my mother's foreign trade company to get a salary when you return to China. By the way, you can speak Spanish, right? It happens to be useful in business. Leoli found that the little fat man was a chatterbox. My mother said it was his catchphrase, but before he could say a few words, Li Tongfan, who was sitting next to him, cut him off like a chicken. The two of them were talking and pinching each other. Seeing this skilled posture, similar situations appeared more than once. When Li Tongfan was in college, he never mentioned to anyone that the lunatic Li who turned the world of international football into chaos was his brother. Although he privately admired his brother to death, Li Tongfan believed that those people were only his brother. As a younger brother, I have not contributed to the achievements, so there is nothing to show off. Therefore, several good buddies, including the little fat guy Shangwenzesh, didn't know the inside story. It was already dark at this moment, and Li Tongfan wrapped himself tightly, so the little fat guy, the most die-hard foodie, didn't recognize the person sitting there. Next to the bearded driver in front is the idol he talks about all day long, Li. Soon after arriving at the single-family villa where Li Tongfan lived, the fat man Shangwenzesh began to be surprised again. Villa. Buying a villa in the center of Madrid, won't it be with a mortgage, right? Is there a lot of pressure to repay the loan? Leo. Li ignored him, entered the door, and took off his clothes. As soon as he turned around, he heard an ordinary sound from behind. The little fat man was lying on all fours on the cashmere carpet in the foyer, howling like he had seen a ghost. Li Tongfan? Are you a loser? Crazy Li. Real Madrid's new coach. My mother said. Third brother, you bastard. You know I'm a huge loser. Why didn't you tell me earlier? It's your brother. The emotional fat man finally recognized it, adhering to the principle of keeping his words short and powerful. Li Tongfan gave the answer. You didn't ask. Of the fat boy Shangwenzesh is the perfect match for you. Dada, the winner of the first guessing event. The guessing event will be held regularly in the book club, so everyone should participate enthusiastically. Of course, Fatty is a sidekick with a mission, and Xiaodao won't add random words, just to make up the word count. Thank you to Jizishi and Tang for your continuous high rewards, and thank you to Zuchilin for your continuous rewards. Thanks to bookfriend 09021717043518, Shenmue Summoner, and bookfriend 0803071323133107 for their continuous rewards. I said I forgot something, and I shouted, vote, recommend votes and collections. Chapter 95 Injuries that cannot be corrected. The bluffing little fat man was a familiar person. After learning about Li Tongfan's identity, he was like a dogskin plaster that had been opened in a cupping pot. He started to stick it on Leoli's body. He asked for autographs and asked for souvenirs. After asking for souvenirs, he asked for a group photo. Afterwards, he actually pulled out a pocket DV from his carry-on bag and said that he would spend a few days recording every bit of idle Li Tongbum's life, compile it into an original documentary, and take it back to China to show off to the fans. Looking at the hot look in the little fat man Shangwen Zesh's eyes, Leoli was really afraid that the little fat man would rush into the room on a whim in the middle of the night to record an unobstructed drama. If it spread to China, it would be the legendary asterisk. So with a wave of his hand, he confiscated the little fat man's DV point anyway. He is my brother's bedmate sworn brother, and Li Tongfan doesn't treat the little fat guy as an outsider. After putting away the luggage, considering that neither of them had eaten, they said, we are destined to come thousands of miles to meet each other. After having a barbecue meal at the Chinese BBQ restaurant, Li Tongfan hadn't spoken yet, but the little fat man was not happy and chewed the meat and bones in his hands. While complaining, my mother said that when you go to Spain, you must eat local delicacies, such as Marseille fish soup, foie gras steak, Paris lobster, red wine pheasant, saffron chicken liver, steak. After Li Tongfan finished eating the chicken wings in his hand, he replied slowly and thoughtfully, didn't your mother say that they are all French food, not Spanish food? The little fat man joked. After returning to his residence, after eating and drinking, Li Tongfan originally wanted to discuss the brokerage company with his brother, but considering that the two of them had been traveling all the way, they were not in a hurry to make money. After talking about brotherly love, the night was already dark. Take a shower and go to sleep. The training of Real Madrid's first team on October 5th was still focused on physical recovery. Brazilian coach Robinho, who has returned from injury, trained with his teammates for the first time and is in good shape. However, Robbie Jr. has just escaped from the embrace of the disease. Golden Wolf Guti and number 2 goalkeeper Diego Lopez have been invited to have tea with injuries again. Guti has a groin strain and needs to be out for 3 weeks. As for poor Diego, Jeze suffered a fracture in his wrist while training to save the ball and needed to stay in bed for at least a month. After the training, assistant coach Greed tactfully made a suggestion to Li Tongfan. The team does not have enough physical coaches. If this continues, the team may suffer widespread injuries. Seeing Grad's hesitant expression, Li Tongfan was stunned for a moment and suddenly realized that the source of the problem was Leoli himself. It was Leoli who made a bet with Angelo Mida to drive away a physical trainer and then failed to take supplements in time, which led to this situation. It seems that even the team's daily training is a profound knowledge. Aerobics, strength, tactics, psychology, offense, and defense are all closely linked and indispensable. But regarding the issue of physical fitness coach, Leoli actually had a listful candidate in mind for a long time, but that bastard didn't know why he hadn't come to Spain yet. It's strange. During this period of time, I have forgotten about the team's frequent wars. Let's ask Mr. Card's translator, Alex, what's going on tomorrow? Guti's injury just gave Croatian midfielder Modric and Italian bad boy Cassano a chance to play. Diego Lopez's substitute was the 20-year-old Danny who came from Castilla's frontline. Danny Hernandez, Juan Mata, De La Red, plus the firefighter Hernandez. Li Tongfan has been in charge of Real Madrid for 3 months, and 3 young guys from Castilla, the Sleep Palace in Madrid, have been awarded the first team. For the youth training director Mendia and his disciples, this call is undoubtedly the dawn of a long drought, and everyone sees a glimmer of hope. Putting aside the joy of the Castilla youth training camp, after the training that day, Leoli and Greed made a special trip to the Madrid Orthopedic Hospital, where Diego Lopez was treated to express condolences to the unfortunate goalkeeper. The wrist is one of the more fragile joints in the human body. Diego Lopez's injury was relatively serious. Team Dr. Gonzalez was unable to do anything. Lopez was rushed here shortly after the injury this afternoon. Little Diego's mood in the ward was not very high. He had been playing the role of a substitute on the bench in the team, and he finally got several opportunities to play under Leoli, especially the Spanish national team on September 9th. Casillas, who was given a red card as a substitute in the derby, saved Ronaldinho's penalty kick of the World Player of the Year. However, it was said to be the pinnacle of his career as a professional player. He originally planned to continue like this to look familiar, but who knows? Knowing that this damn injury has put him on the bed again. After Lee Tongfan and Greed comforted Diego Lopez, they went to the office of Mr. Celsti, the surgical expert, and asked about the little guy's recovery. The answer they received surprised them. The wrist joints are complex, and it is difficult to fully recover after a bone fracture. Generally, the flexibility of the palm will be seriously weakened. If you are unlucky, you may even be left with a slight disability. 4. A football goalkeeper who relies on his hands for food. Such a diagnosis is undoubtedly a death sentence. If no miracle happens, it means that Diego Lopez is not far away from retirement. On the way back, Grad was a little silent. He originally thought it was a simple injury, but who would have thought it would turn into this? And Leoli was thinking about going back to see if he could use FM to treat Diego Lopez's injury. Speechless all the way, when Lee Tongfan returned to his residence, chubby Shangwenzesh and old Lee Tongson had gone out to have fun and hadn't come back yet. Regardless of Shangwenzesh's babbling, he is actually a rare language genius. Spanish is a piece of cake for him, and German and English are also affordable. That's why Leoli dared to leave his brother to this person with confidence. The little fat man who kept saying my mother said, that took him to visit Madrid. Since the two of you are not here, let's do some business. After opening the forehand IBM T30 and clicking to enter the FM 2007 system to read the archive, Lee Tongfan immediately opened FM to search for Diego Lopez's information. Unexpectedly, more than 10 players with this name suddenly popped up on the screen. After checking one by one, Leoli finally found Diego from Real Madrid, and the basic information page in FM showed that the little guy was indeed injured. However, the green injured mark on the modifier page is a bit strange. No matter how we modify it with the mouse, we can't remove the green check mark. The system pops up cold prompt boxes over and over again. Ding dong. The target option cannot be modified. Ding dong. Repeat. The target options will not be affected by modification. Ding dong. Repeat. What happened? This is the first time that the target options cannot be modified. Is there something wrong with FM? As soon as this thought came out, Leoli felt as if there was a 2.5 million ton nuclear bomb buried under his butt, making him restless. I quickly found an injured guy from Real Madrid team and tried again, but this time I easily removed the green injured check mark, although 2 character points were consumed. Fortunately the power of FM is still there. So what's going on? Lee Tongfan calmed down and carefully recalled what happened before and after Diego Lopez's injury. The diagnosis explanation of Celsti, the chief surgeon at the Madrid Orthopedic Hospital, suddenly jumped into his mind. Could it be because of the sentence may leave a slight disability? In other words, the power of the modifier is not unlimited. If an athlete's injury will cause disability, will it exceed the upper limit of FM modification and become a hopeless person? This inference is not good news. Although it is rare for a player to retire due to disability on the football field, for now, Diego Lopez's injury is at least beyond Leoli's control. Although Diego Lopez is not the main force of the team, and it is even more difficult for a substitute in the goalkeeper position to get a chance to play, his role in the team is still irreplaceable. After spending more than 3 months together, no matter in terms of team lineup needs or personal feelings, Leoli didn't want to ruin this honest Spanish young man's lifelong dream just because of this mistake. Thinking of this, Lee Tongfan thought again of the bastard who left his position empty. If he could come to Spain in time to serve as Real Madrid's physical coach, he might be able to bring a glimmer of hope to Diego Lopez with his unique skills. You know, we need to get this guy over as soon as possible. Just as I was thinking about it, the voice of the fat Shanguanzesh came from the living room. My mother said that Spanish beauties are very decent, with long legs and long legs. That's right, Leo. Lee was suddenly confused. Who is the little fat man's mother? She is so tough. Do you want to tell your son about this? When I opened the bedroom door, I saw that the little fat man sold a lot of things in big and small bags, but his brother Lee Tongfan, who was wearing a fake leaning sportswear, didn't buy anything. Brother, are you done? Leo. Lee nodded. Why didn't you buy something? Don't be afraid of spending money, Lee. Tongfan pointed at the sweaty little fat man. It's all for him, just to lose weight. The younger brother spoke in a concise manner as usual, but Lee Tongfan understood what he meant in one word. It turned out that the things they bought were all on the little fat man, but the little fat man should really consider losing weight. From a distance, he can see a mountain of pork belly. Lee Tongfan only bought 3 things. Macro packaged top quality moisturizer for Leoli, because he leads the team training under the scorching sun all day long, and it is darker than before. And electromagnetic microwave knee pads for his father, because his father has arthritis. High-end women's clothing for my mother, because she has never worn such expensive clothes. For myself, no. Lee Tongfan looked helpless. He had known this for a long time. What a stupid brother you are. After dinner, Lee Tongfan came to Leoli's room alone and held back a sentence for a long time. Brother, I want to stay. It's strongly recommended next week. Are you ready for ice? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 96, Shining Red Star. Lee Tongfan looked at his brother with interest. Why do you want to stay? The courses in school are boring, and I won't be able to find a job that I like to do after graduation. I want to do something practical and help you and your parents. Brother has thought of 2 ways for you. Lee Tongfan saw that his brother took the initiative to bring up the matter and expressed his thoughts. You can stop working after graduation and take your parents and future younger siblings to travel around the world. You can go wherever you want. With my current ability and affordability, as long as the 3 of you are happy, that's better than anything else. Or, Lee Tongfan told the truth about his plan to register a brokerage company in his brother's name. I choose the second option. Lee Tongfan retorted without hesitation. When I make money, you can retire and take your parents around the world. I will be able to afford it at that time. Leo. Lee patted his younger brother's shoulder, which was much taller than him. He expected this answer. Self-reliance, kindness, perseverance, and filial piety. I have never been short of these 4 things. All that is missing is training and opportunities. In that case, wait for my arrangements. The first team training on October 6th was unremarkable. After the training, the superstar teammates formed a group to visit Diego Lopez at the Madrid Orthopedic Hospital. The official website of Real Madrid Club announced 2 pieces of news to the outside world that afternoon. First, it announced the injury status of first team substitute goalkeeper Diego Lopez and team vice captain Guti, and sent blessings to them. The other is the result that Leoli has been looking forward to. Recently, Real Madrid and the Premier League Arsenal club reached an agreement. Carlos Vela, a young Mexican forward born in 1989, permanently transferred to Real Madrid for £7 million. It will be officially completed after the winter transfer market opens on January 1, 2007. The 17-year-old Mexican forward won the Golden Boot with 5 goals in the 2005 U17 World Youth Championship. At that time, Real Madrid, Manchester United, Liverpool and other European giants chased the Mexican, but in the end Arsenal coach Arsene Wenger relied on with his world-renowned reputation as a young player bowl. He abducted this unscrupulous future star for £2.5 million. Unfortunately, things didn't go smoothly. since he couldn't get a labour certificate in the Premier League. Arsenal's application for a special talent visa was rejected by the Home Office. Therefore, Villa could only choose to be loaned to Salamanca club in the Spanish 2nd Division. Gain competition experience point in the 7 rounds of the Spanish 2nd Division that have ended this season. Villa scored 7 goals and provided 4 assists for Salamanca club in 7 games, averaging 8.14 points per game. He won the best of the game 3 times in a row, ranking first among all Spanish players. The first player in B. Such a talented person has long been hyped by the media in Spain, and together with his compatriot Giovanni dos Santos, he is known as the Mexican Gemini. Therefore, the vast majority of Real Madrid fans praise the club's transfer transaction after seeing the official announcement, speaking of which, for being able to acquire Bella for £7 million. Lee Tongfan really has to thank the FA for the labour certificate clause. Real Madrid took full advantage of the disadvantage that Bella had to be loaned out until 2008 before he could obtain a labour certificate to compete in the Premier League. Factors finally convinced Bella himself, and finally the talented Professor Wenger's persuasion failed and had to reluctantly let go. Although Carlos Vela was acquired as he wished, Leoli's doubts became more and more serious because in the transfer of the Mexican Demon Boy, there appeared similar to the Croatian twin stars Modric and Joel Luca. Yao Mosi, the actual transfer fee amount is inconsistent with the data presented in FM 2007. During the FM 2007 transfer process, Real Madrid acquired the Mexican small forward for £5 million, not £7 million. This time Leoli no longer thinks it is a problem with the FM 2007 system, because the scout report of Francisco Jimenez, the scout who was responsible for the early transfer of Bella, also said very clearly that, as long as £5 million Arsenal just agreed to let him go, but who changed the final amount, Arsenal raises price, the agent pocketed it for himself, or are Uncle Calderon and Uncle Mijatovic so stupid that they gave each other £200 for free, after coming out of the Madrid Orthopedic Hospital. Lee Tongfan went to the most famous Perkins Cole law firm in Madrid according to the pre-arranged time to officially implement the registration of a brokerage company. Burgage Law Firm is the Madrid branch of Seattle-based Burgage Law Firm. It has handled many similar businesses, and its American director, Christopher Paul, is an experienced person in this field. Famous brokers such as Menz and Castro in the world have close personal relationships with him. Leoli's request is very simple. He only needs to register a small-scale sports company with legal recognition. As for the registered capital, of course, the lower the better. You must know that the total private money Lee Tongfan has saved since becoming the head coach of Real Madrid is only I barely managed to scrape together £500,000. Judging from the amount, it was not enough to buy a thigh from the Mexican Demon Boy Carlos Vela. Originally, such a small business was not enough for Paul, the director of the Burgage law firm, to come forward in person, but no matter how small the business was, it could not hold up to Leoli's distinguished status. In the eyes of insiders, the title of Real Madrid head coach alone was not enough. It's worth tens of millions of pounds. They are all people who eat football. Leoli is at the top of the food chain in the industry. If he can establish a relationship with this big man, who is currently the most popular, Paul feels that it will be a waste of time. It's worth £10,000. Therefore, the flattered Americans put on the highest standards and secretly entertained Lee Tongfan in the top VIP member reception room. To sum it up in the language of the Party Affairs Network program broadcast on Chai and Cheo channel every night, that is, the meeting was warm and friendly. Paul highly praised Crazy Lee's achievements in Real Madrid, and Crazy Lee also expressed his appreciation for Chris. I affirm Mr. Tepal's professionalism and professional attitude, and the two parties reached an agreement in a harmonious and friendly atmosphere. As for the trade secret issue that Lee Tongfan is worried about, the old fox Paul patted his thick chest hair and assured, Lee, please rest assured, there is no one on the street who doesn't know that our purpose of serving customers is to beat me to death. Don't tell me. I guarantee that even the most elite agents of the CIA will not be able to find out a dime about the relationship between you and Shining Red Star. Shining Red Star. It was Lee Tongfan who spent £100,000 to register a brokerage company in the name of his brother Lee Tongson. The name is in line with Chinese characteristics and has a profound meaning. Sooner or later, the young ladies under the company will become popular superstars who shine in the world with the efficiency of the Burgage law firm, including registration and employee recruitment and other tedious matters. This new future giant can be born in half a month at the latest. However, in addition to the registration matter of Sparkling Red Star, the main reason why Lee Tongfan found Burgox was that this law firm also launched a very unique business, a crash course for football agents. Although to put it bluntly, this kind of business is purely to make money from the pockets of those fools who have the best desire to become football agents. Because becoming an agent is not as simple as getting the basic red-lettered agent certificate from FIFA. The main mystery lies in two words that Chinese people are very familiar with, Guangxi. But for Leoli, he has money and connections, and his brother needs quick success, so everyone can get what they need. It took half a year to obtain various certifications from FIFA. According to the development needs of Shining Red Star, half a year is the limit that the company's business can wait. Lee Tongson must become a nominally qualified agent in half a year, and then slowly hone and grow in the Shining Red Star business. And Chris Paul spent a lot of money to catch up with Lee Tongfan, a noble man. With a stroke of his pen, he directly gave Leoli a crash course worth $30,000. The cunning American can clearly see that the Real Madrid coach cares about his 19-year-old brother very much. As long as he takes good care of this young man, it will be easy to bleed each other in the future. In the value concept of American businessmen, isn't it just for selling? After settling his brother's matter, Lee Tongfan finally let go of one of his worries. On the way back, the phone call from the blonde girl Alex also made him let go of another worry. The bastard physical fitness coach he had booked was finally coming. Arrived in Madrid. As a result, except for the puzzling situation regarding the transfer fees of several players, the team's other matters are finally on track. I originally thought that there would be no league games from October 1st to 15th, so I could live a more relaxed life, but who knew I would be even more tired. So let's hurry up for the game. On October 10th, Lee Tongson, who traveled all over the streets of Madrid with his little fat boy Ao Hangzesh, returned to China. He needs to go to China to drop out of college as soon as possible, and then go to Zurich, Switzerland to take a crash course for agents. In addition to learning relevant courses, he also has to solve the language problem in half a year. For Lee Tongson, this trip to Zurich is both an opportunity and a hardship. Brother Lee Tongfan made it very clear that, if the course cannot be completed as scheduled within half a year, the ownership of Shining Red Star will change hands. Because although Lee Tongfan favors his younger brother, he is also responsible for the young boy who is about to join the Sparkling Red Star. After all, the job of an agent is not a child's play. Every operation will involve the fate of the player's entire career. If I really don't have that ability, then I'd better stay at home and be a rich man, so I don't have to run out and cause trouble to others. What made Leoli a little relieved was that the fat Shangwenzesh didn't know why he was crazy, and he actually wanted to drop out of school and follow Lee Tongson to attend the agent crash course, and his tough mother, who had not yet shown up, actually turned out to be. I agreed to my son's request. That's good. The two of them have a companion at least, and the little fat man is a language genius, so he might be able to help a lot. The trivia is over. Real Madrid's championship journey in the 2006-07 season continues. Of the presence of too many words like shota and hammer is indeed an eyesore, but there is no need to use them at all. I will use knives with caution in the future. As for that guy named Asterisk, you don't call it giving advice, you call it making trouble. I deleted the post more than a day after I replied. I think you should have seen my explanation. Zyodea will not be so patient like this in the future. These few pictures are excessive and explain some things in the future, which is a bit bland. Chapter 97. The two core players of Shakhtar Donetsk. There is a lot of trouble in the widow's goal. Real Madrid, which lacks a physical coach, lost the right assist maniac Sergio Ramos in the training on July 11th. This young man tried to speed up during training and accidentally strained his delicate hamstring. Fortunately, the team doctor Gonzalez diagnosed that the injury was not serious and he can slowly recover through training. But there is a saying in the Tao that it takes 100 days to break the muscles and bones. That is to say, any injury involving the muscles and bones, whether serious or mild, will take more than 100 days to recover. The exact time given by Team Dr. Gonzalez is 3 months later, which means that Real Madrid fans want to see Ramos Hammer's coquettish running and sharp assists on the court. It will have to wait until at least January next year, considering that Leoli used cunning and safflower oil to treat Ronaldo's patella fracture overnight. Team Dr. Gonzalez strongly requested Tongfan to help the poor kid Ramos escape from the disease again. But Leoli sternly rejected him using the excuse of insufficient internal strength. Seeing Gonzalez's disappointed expression as he left, Tongfan cursed in his heart. If it happens again, Leozi, the fake cunning master, will be sectioned and studied sooner or later. However, the cunning master who will treat Ramos will soon be there, and it won't be me. Opportunities should be reserved for those who need them. And that person is coming soon. Ramos' sudden injury gave another defender Cicinho a chance. If nothing else happens, the glorious mission of charging for Real Madrid at the right back position in the next 3 months will fall on the Brazilian. However, Cicinho is not the biggest beneficiary of Ramos' injury. The 31-year-old Spanish veteran Michel Salgado, who has not played even 1 second in the league this season, is actually very lucky. He was called by the national team coach Aragones to replace the injured Ramos to face Spain's European Cup qualifier opponent Switzerland on October 12. Spanish domestic media questioned the choice of coach Aragones. Sure enough, in the European Cup qualifiers on the 12th, Spain lost 3-1 away to the Swiss team playing at home, which was an upset. Aragones and Salgado, who made low-level mistakes in the game, became the targets of media criticism. On October 13, Real Madrid's official website published another announcement announcing the signing of a 3-year physical coaching contract with Yanato from China. The specific content of the contract is unknown. The small position of physical fitness coach did not attract the attention of major media. Ito Yun is like a small drop of water, silently blending into the muddy ditch of Real Madrid. Even those who like to find fault points and attack Tongfan only speculate that this signing is probably because the club paid their young coach to find a country partner to chat with and spank. This situation is very common in the football world. In order to tie up the team's core player Kaká, the Italian giant AC Milan also signed the Brazilian handsome boy's younger brother, who is not outstanding in ability to the team. But Tongfan doesn't think so. Although Ito Yun has a lot of bad habits, he has a family skill that is very suitable for him to be the team's physical coach. This guy is a trainer who knows some medical skills. This skill was passed down from his grandfather. Ito Yun's grandfather, who is over 80 years old, was a very legendary figure when he was young. He had excellent medical skills and martial arts, and he fought bandits and wolves. According to the older generation, before liberation, not only were wolves coming and going like the wind in Gansu, but there were also bandits roaming the hills one after another. Many people were so poor that they could no longer survive, so they went to join with Butcher Knives and Iron Pear's bandit. In order to guard against wolves and bandits, many farmers in the poor valleys practice martial arts. Of course, it is not the kind of flying over the walls, but there is still no problem in knocking down 5 or 6 green-headed wolves with a poplar stick. Ito Yun's grandfather passed down medical skills to his family and later learned martial arts from the locals. He made a few limelights and became famous in the local area. After liberation, the bandits and wolves were gone. Martial arts training was too hard. As long as the peasants could live a stable life, who would have to suffer? Ito Yun's father made a lot of money by running the transportation business, and he was determined not to imitate the old man's traveling business thing. The old man's skills were about to be lost, and poor Ito Yun was born. Since the son didn't want to learn, let the grandson learn. So after being beaten with a stick, this kid actually learned some of the old man's skills. When Tongfan was in high school, he dislocated his shoulder while playing parallel bars in physical education class. It was his deskmate Yanato who put it back in place with 2 kabakaba. No one knew about this, but Leoli became familiar with Yanato after that. Well, Slowly and naturally I came to know the secrets that this kid had hidden, inviting Ito Young to Real Madrid. On the one hand, Leoli wants to win over his old classmates who are now miserable, and on the other hand, he will use FM millimeters to correct the players' injuries in the future. He really has to take care of this guy for a few years. He is a half-baked Kigan master here to deceive others, of course. Before coming to Spain, Ito Yun followed Li Tongfan's instructions and spent more than 250 RMB in China to get a complete set of medical certificates from professionals who applied for certificates on the street, so as to fool the Spanish media. For Leoli, everything is ready. Diego Lopez and Ramos, who have been discharged from the hospital, will be handed over to Gonzalez and Ito Yun. He will lead the team to challenge the newly promoted Tarragona in an away game on the 15th. Gymnastic point before the game, Tarragona's head coach Paco Flores publicly expressed his envy of Real Madrid's Lineup, thinking that if Tarragona had so many talented players, he would definitely do better than Crazy Lee. Unfortunately, the old man is far behind the ancestors of psychological warfare such as Uncle Ferguson and Uncle Magic Bird. His psychological tactics not only failed to create opportunities for his team, but also aroused the unanimous indignation of Real Madrid from the head coach to the bus driver. After the game ended at 2100 hours on the evening of October 15th, the red glaring 0:8 on the central scoreboard of the now Estadi Stadium made Paco the second head coach named Flores who fell under Li Tongfan's trousers this season. In the match, the young Argentine player Higuain, who replaced Ronaldo in the starting lineup, went on a killing spree against the weak team. He received 3 assists from Juan Mata in the first 20 minutes of the first half, and scored a hat-trick. In the second half, the Italian bad boy Antonio Cassano, who played for Real Madrid for the first time this season, also made a name for himself with 2 goals. The assist was from the long-haired Argentine teenager Fernando Gago. The other 3 goals were scored by Juan Mata, Robinho and Modric, who came on as a substitute, and Castilla young Eagle de la Red, who finally made his league debut after Juan Mata completed an assist after coming on as a substitute for Gago in the second half. His performance was remarkable. Paco, who lost the game, became one of the laughing points in the 8th round of La Liga because of his big talk before the game, but his disciples did not seem to care about losing to the powerful Real Madrid. After the referee blew the whistle to end the game, the first thing the Tarragona players did was not to cover their faces and run back to the locker room to reflect, but to take off their jerseys and look for the Real Madrid superstars they admired to exchange jerseys, amid the boos and curses of the Tarragona hardcore fans who had not yet dispersed for their team, sad for their misfortune and angry for their lack of struggle. The Real Madrid bus returned to Madrid along the quietly flowing Francali River in laughter and joy. After 8 rounds of the league, the La Liga standings have changed greatly. Real Madrid ranked first with 24 points after winning all 8 games, while another giant Barcelona defeated the Yellow Submarine Villarreal 0:2 away in the La Liga Focus game that just ended, and ranked second with 6 wins and 1 loss in 7 games and 18 points. The 3rd and 4th places were Villarreal River Dark Horse Getafe. Among the other La Liga powerhouses, Valencia has rebounded since its defeats to Real Madrid and is ranked 9th in the standings after 3 consecutive wins, while Sevilla, which defeated Barcelona on penalties in the European Super Cup this season, is unexpectedly in trouble. The Andalusian team has 1 win, 5 draws and 2 losses in 8 games, with 8 points, just 1 step away from the relegation zone point for Real Madrid. The schedule has become tight again since October 15th point. After defeating Tarragona away, they will travel to Ukraine for the Champions League qualification and challenge the Ukrainian giant Shakhtar Donetsk away point. Although Shakhtar is not in the mainstream European league, it is not a soft persimmon that can be manipulated by anyone. There are 2 players in the team who are very well known throughout Europe. In the FM 2007 system, they are also the monsters that all veteran game fans are salivating over. The first one is the 19-year-old captain of Shakhtar Donetsk, Dmitro Chigrinsky. This Ukrainian central defender, born in 1986, is 190 centimeters tall and has outstanding aerial advantages and defensive skills. His footwork is also good. He is the undisputed core of Shakhtar Donetsk. The other one is Brazilian midfielder Ilano. The 25-year-old Brazilian is a typical late bloomer. Ilano, who has been playing in the second-tier European league, did not attract much attention at first, but with his outstanding performance in Shakhtar Donetsk, Brazilian head coach Dunga overcame all objections and recruited him into the national team. Although Ilano is not strong, he has a lot of physical strength, strong running ability and chasing ability, and a beautiful long shot. He is a midfielder with both offensive and defensive capabilities. It is these two people who will be the main obstacles for Real Madrid to win in Ukraine. To explain, Itoyan is the Wangsacheo that appeared in the previous article. Zyodeo will change it in the previous chapters. It's been 100 chapters, and the clicks are almost a million. Zyodeo never thought that there would be such a result. Thank you all for your support. 3 Bows. Chapter 98 for David Beckham. The day before the team set off for Ukraine, Madley, who had been quiet for a short time, seemed unwilling to remain silent and went berserk again. However, this time the unlucky person who became his target was not in Spain, but a middle-aged English uncle who was constantly unlucky, the new coach of the Three Lions, McLaren. People who follow football were surprised to find that, whenever there was any interesting news in European football, it would always be related to the Real Madrid coach, Lee. 3 months after the New England coach Steve McLaren confidently announced that the former captain of the national team David Beckham would not be called up by the national team again after taking office, Madley suddenly jumped out and launched an inhumane attack on Mr. McLaren, a bloody case caused by Beckham's continuous and unreasonable failure to be selected for the national team. An expected but somewhat shocking lightning attack. Brain dead. This is what Madley called the supreme commander of the Three Lions. Crazy Lee analyzed in his column McLaren's intention to abandon Beckham, who performed perfectly in Real Madrid this season, is obvious, that is, to wipe the unfinished canvas of his predecessor Eriksen clean, so that he can freely paint on the unrestrained white paper of the national team. But the stupid English people forgot that even the best painters need pens and paints. And David Beckham, who can be regarded as a model of professional players, is the most indispensable colorant for the New England national team. Crazy Lee's naked attack on McLaren caused a burst of exclamations from the mainstream football media, but not even one media stood up to defend McLaren. Of course, this situation did not occur because Crazy Lee suddenly became popular with the media, or because he bribed the media, but because, in comparison, McLaren, who dug his own grave, was more hated than Crazy Lee. The whole world remembers how a man named Beckham led England to the quarterfinals in the just concluded 2006 World Cup in Germany. Remembers the sad scene of him vomiting for the benefit of the team. Remembers the touching scene of him crying with his face covered after being replaced because of the scars on his legs in the last game. But Mr. McLaren obviously selectively forgot, and forgot very thoroughly. Before he could warm up the England national team thrown under his butt, in order to establish his own authority, he began to perform like a clown, expelling Beckham from the national team. The result of this is, England's record in the European Cup Group E qualifiers was terrible. On September 2nd, England faced the bottom team Andorra at home, relying on Manchester United striker Zio Raonislaw to win 1:0. On September 6th, England challenged the weak team Macedonia away, and lost the game 1:2. On October 7th, they played against Macedonia again at home, and relied on striker Zio Raonislaw to win 1:0. On October 12th, the away game against the European powerhouse Croatia was actually slaughtered by the opponent 4:1. After 4 rounds of matches, the England team, which was full of superstars, and was called the strongest in history by the media, ranked 4th after Russia, Croatia, and Israel with 2 wins and 2 losses in 4 games and 6 points. But even in such a situation, the pig-headed McLaren insisted on not using Beckham, the assist king of this season's La Liga. It was really intolerable. After communicating with his favorite player Beckham, the self-willed Tongfan finally began to declare war and speak out for his disciples. This sudden attack caught McLaren off guard and started an unreasonable scolding war. How could McLaren be a match for the Crazy Lee? What's more, Leo Lee still occupied the moral high ground this time. Of course, Leo Lee had to endure for more than a month before he attacked McLaren, just to wait for the English team to be beaten to its original form by the opponent's goal, so as to gain public support and exert the greatest pressure. Otherwise it would only cause trouble for Beckham. Interestingly, the extremely protective domestic media in England did not hesitate to stand in the same trench with the outsider Madman Lee, this time launching a nationwide attack on McLaren, and has been asking the British Pig to remove McLaren from his position as head coach. Unfortunately, the British Pig seems to be more face-saving than McLaren. Officials claimed that the team is still in the running-in period, and qualifying for the European Cup qualifiers is not a problem. They expressed regret for Beckham's failure to be selected and begged the public to support the work of local coach Mr. McLaren in the national team. This is a typical case of sticking your head in your crotch and deceiving yourself with world peace. On October 18th, before the match between Real Madrid and Shakhtar Donetsk, Lee Tongfan saw that the fuse of public opinion had been ignited and immediately withdrew from the anti-McLaren and support Belbom storm and concentrated on deploying the team's preparations. At 1945 local time in Ukraine, the game officially started. The black judge of the game was Peter Wharton, a 43-year-old middle-aged man from England. The Miners got the kickoff right, and Raul, the captain of Real Madrid who replaced Van Nistelrooy in the starting lineup, picked the goal on the downwind side. The starting lineup arranged by Lee Tongfan was changed. Cicinho replaced Ramos, who had injured his thigh in the backline. The other three were the bald handsome Cannavaro, the 1.94 meter tall Croatian Joel Luca, and the little hammer Marcelo, who shaved off the Buddha's hairstyle and returned to a bald head. Bessie, who was strongly supported by Leoli before the game, returned to the main force to control the team's rhythm. The front midfielder was absent due to Gushua's injury, and another Croatian Modric started. The two wings were the most original black and white evil spirits Riaz and Robinho. Juan Mata, who had physical problems in consecutive games, sat on the bench. On the forward line, the Ring King Raul, who returned from injury and recovered his form, partnered with the alien fat man Ronaldo. The king of the small penalty area Van Nistelrooy and the Argentine rookie Higuain sat on the bench. After the game started, the Miners, who had the advantage of home court, were not afraid of death and launched an attack against Real Madrid. For a while, they really created a lot of opportunities for them, especially the midfielder Elano, whose good physical fitness and large area defense were fully demonstrated. Several long shots in front of the penalty area were quite threatening. Ziglinski, the pillar of the Miners' defense, also performed very well in the game. The tall and long-legged captain of the Miners has very flexible steps, and his frontal defense ability is not inferior to that of Croatian Joel Luca. He firmly defended Ronaldo in several confrontations with the alien fat man. The Brazilian striker twisted his coquettish fat but several times and failed to break through one-on-one. Elano and Ziglinski are both rising stars who have become famous recently. If they want to win the attention and favor of major European clubs, relying solely on the outstanding performance of the Ukrainian domestic league is not very convincing. Only the European Champions League can provide them with a stage for performance, especially against Real Madrid, a top team in European football, which is the best opportunity to prove themselves, and such opportunities only happen twice a season. Therefore, there is no need to get excited, and the performance of the two is much more exciting than a rooster in heat, but someone is not worried at all. Although Elano and Ziglinski are excellent, there are a lot of players as good as them in the Real Madrid first team. To use a phrase that has been said by countless people, that is, football is an 11-person sport. No matter how strong the individual ability is, it is just a small dish in front of a strong team. What makes Leoli a little confused is the tactical arrangement of Shakhtar Donetsk coach Mircea Lucescu. It's actually a counter-attack. Lee Tongfan stood on the sidelines and watched the Ukrainian Miners, who were playing happily and excitedly. He couldn't help but glanced at the miner Mircea Lucescu, wondering, I really don't know what this Romanian old man who once led the Dinamo club in Bucharest to dominate the Romanian league thinks. Does he really think that he can defeat Real Madrid led by the great Madman Lee by relying on the insignificant home advantage and a group of unknown people who make a living in the second-tier European League. Rijkaard's dream team second thought so, but failed. Floor's bats also did so, and collapsed. Although the law of you will die if you attack Real Madrid has just been established in Spain, does the Miners coach Murcia Lucescu think that the law will be invalid when he goes abroad? In fact, how could Leoli know the bitterness in the heart of my Nona Murcia Lucescu? You will die if you attack, but can you win by defending? The defense of the Premier League giant Chelsea is solid, and the tactics of the madman Mourinho are exquisite. But what is the result? Aren't they killed by the crazy Real Madrid at home without any temper? It's going to die anyway, so it's better to die heroically. There is a saying that the brave wins when they meet on a narrow road. Maybe an unexpected attack can fight for a ray of hope. Murcia Lucescu is now a dumb person eating bitter herbs, and only he knows the bitterness. You have to swallow your anger, because the old man is only coaching a third-rate club where the total value of all the players is not as good as the value of a random substitute player. The situation on the field showed that Lee Tongfan's boasting was not without reason. As soon as the Miners finished their opening three-pronged attack, Real Madrid quickly reversed the situation under the coordination of Beckham and Modric, one old and one young, one in front and one behind, and the game completely entered the course of the Galacticos. In the 25th minute of the game, Shakhtar Donetsk made a mistake in the front court coordination, and Real Madrid's right back SYNOPSIS seized the opportunity to rush all the way. After passing two people, he crossed to the front of the Shakhtar penalty arc. After the Brazilian and the front midfielder Modric played a wonderful 2-on-1 coordination, the central defender was about to break into the penalty area, but was tackled to the ground by another central defender. Leonardo of the Shakhtar Forster English black judge decisively stopped the game, rewarded Leonardo with a yellow sapphire war card, and awarded Real Madrid a direct free kick about 30 meters away from the goal. This is the opportunity for Crescent Moon Scimitar Beckham. Chapter 99. Please call this man back to the national team. When talking about Beckham, the first thing people think of is his handsome face that makes women all over the world want to die. Then his wife Victoria's face that is so beautiful that makes men all over the world want to die. And finally Beckham. Shui Meng's unique free kick skill, the full moon scimitar. When people mention the full moon scimitar, the first thing that comes to mind is the thrilling arc. Indeed, Beckham's free kicks have a tricky angle, and the arc produced in the air is so huge that when people describe his free kicks, they always use one word: Beckham's arc. However, if you think that the free kick taken by this handsome English guy only has an arc, you are completely wrong. The German Kicker magazine once conducted the most professional data research on the 184th edition of the 5th edition. The results surprised everyone, because compared to that impeccable arc, the speed and power of the full moon scimitar is the most deadly weapon. Among the top 10 recorded fastest free kicks in the world, this handsome Englishman occupies the 2nd and 10th positions. He is also the only player in the world to take two consecutive free kicks with a speed exceeding 120 km per hour. The two records are respectively 156 km when Manchester United played Chelsea on February 22, 1997, and 128 km when Manchester United played against Derby County on September 4, 1996. Everyone in the world is confused by the splendor in front of them, and they fail to notice the sharpness behind the splendor. The tragedy for Shakhtar Donetsk is that their goalkeeper Andrei Pyatov obviously did not read this carefully curated special edition of Kicker, so he was directing his teammates to stop. When building a wall, choose to seal the upper left corner of the goal, and expose the right side of the goal to seal it yourself. Pyatov, who was 1.94 meters tall, was full of confidence and sneered at the handsome English guy standing behind the football in the distance. "Don't even try to score from me. The tall and long-legged man is never afraid of curveballs. Come on." Push referee Pete Walton gave long whistle, indicating that Beckham could take a free throw. Zyglinski, who is 194 centimeters tall, Leonardo, who is 190 centimeters tall, Merica, who is 189 centimeter tall. What blocked Beckham's free throw path was a group of super big men with an average height of over 190 centimeters. The right side of the goal was tightly blocked by such a group of long people. From this distance, if an overhead kick was to be kicked, it would be very difficult. It is too difficult to send the football into the upper right corner of the goal, and although Beckham's free kick has an amazing arc, it does not have a tendency to fall. Beckham is not absolutely sure about choosing the penalty kick route on the right side of the goal. It is 80% possible. Kick the football into the stands, but looking at the left side of the goal, Beckham smiled. Although the goalkeeper of Shakhtar Donetsk allowed his teammates to block the right corner, the left corner of the goal was empty. Only the head of the Shakhtar Pyatov was beaming. The earth is kept there, that's it. Glancing at the upper left corner of the goal, Beckham took a rare 5 or 6 steps back, took a quick run and then shot. Whoosh, the football draws a shining white line in the air. The arc is still the same. However, the face of the confident gatekeeper Mina Pyatov was filled with fear in an instant. Because although Beckham's free kick was just as he imagined, it still had the same thrilling arc, but the speed was countless times faster. Pyatov only had time to squat down and jump to save the ball. At the first move, a strong wind blew over the head, causing a few strands of long hair on the Ukrainian's forehead to float up. The football had already rubbed the intersection of the uprights and the crossbar and entered the net. It wasn't until all the Shakhtar Donetsk fans in the stands suddenly screamed and cursed that Pyatov's messy hair became quiet. So fast. This is an atypical full moon scimitar. This is also an atypical Beckham. This season, the heartthrob who was transformed into an all-around defensive midfielder by Crazy Lee has subverted people's understanding of him more than once, and today, this unimaginable free kick made the commentators from all over the world, who were commentating on the game even more stunned. ESPN commentator Uncle Zinjan, who is used to seeing big winds and waves, opened his mouth and exclaimed, "This goal is scored." Beckham scored his third goal in the Champions League. It is so beautiful. This is definitely a small goal. The most classic of all base free kicks, with great speed and angle. Shakhtar Donetsk's goalkeeper Pyatov had no time to react. Incredible. This is Beckham. The Spanish commentator was full of praise. David's performance in the midfield this season has reminded people more than once of the retired French master Zidane, but even the Frenchman has not made such an amazing contribution to the team like Beckham today in several seasons at Real Madrid. I completely cannot understand why McLaren insists on not calling up the best midfielder in the world. The national team may really be like a loser. Lee said he is a fool. If Beckham was a Spaniard, how great would it be? After scoring the goal, Beckham ran all the way and roared loudly at the cameras on the sidelines. His handsome face was even a little ferocious, but everyone who saw this scene still couldn't help but cheer and applaud this former captain of England. In London, Manchester, and every bar and living room in Great Britain, fans of Manchester United and the England national team would raise their single malt beer and drink happily, while cursing the stupid McLaren and the far Lineker, the former legendary striker of the England national team who was the commentator of this game, expressed the voice of every British behind the camera. McLaren, please recall this man to the national team. He is the darling of English fans. He once scored 17 goals for the national team. He once saved the whole of England from the butcher knife of the Greek team. And now, what he is waiting for is very simple. Just a trust and a call. After the crazy celebration of Real Madrid players, the game continued. The Shakhtar Donetsk players seemed to have lost their souls by the shocking blow of the coach. Except for Ilano and Chiglinski who were still struggling, the others were in a daze. In the 29th minute of the game, less than 4 minutes after the last goal, Real Madrid stabbed the bleeding wound of the Shakhtar Donetsk players again, and the director of this tragedy was still Beckham, who was like a god descending from heaven. I'm really sorry. The air conditioner at home broke down today. I asked a repairman to come and replace the fan and the motherboard, and then the motherboard and the wires. From noon to now, the two have been tossing around in the house and have not found the cause. What a tragedy. A broken air conditioner that has been used for who knows how many years has caused Xiao, who has not made any money from writing novels, to lose 600 yuan. It took a lot of time, and I updated late. I still need 1,000 words. I will make up for it tomorrow. I have to go help later. The room is as hot as a steamer, and I sweat a lot when I squeeze my clothes. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.